Philip, can you hear me?
Is that it? That should be it there now. Am I muted or?
Okay. So I think most people are muted. That's great. Thank you very much. Welcome everybody. A couple of housekeeping things. Please keep yourselves on mute. We've got a lot to get through. If you see one of the counselors going dark, as in all of a sudden you can't see their faces, but just their names, be assured we are all here, but some of us don't have the best internet and sometimes have to sort of go dark and come back on in order to maintain our internet connection. Again, before I call this meeting to order, I'll just say that we have allotted 2 hours for this meeting today. Under the Planning Act, we have to stick to those 2 hours. And fortunately, but unfortunately, we have so many letters that it will take the entire 2 hours. What this means is that we can take your comments, concerns, questions. There were a lot of interesting ideas brought forward, bring them back to the council table, discuss them. And then what we'll do is we will have a further public meeting in the near future, and we will allow ourselves far more time than 2 hours. So we apologize for that. If you're listening to this or even watching on YouTube, and I'm certain that some are just watching on YouTube, if you don't hear your comment or concern or have a further idea, please reach back out to Annette and Dana. Just, you know, we want to make sure that everybody is heard. And I will assure you that because of the 2 hour time limit, in your agenda, you will see that there's comments and questions from council. I don't think that there's any way that we're going to get to those today. But with that, it is lovely to see so many of our residents that we know, and we're happy that you joined us today. And for all of you on YouTube, welcome. And at that, I am going to call this public meeting of Bonnechere Valley Council to order on Tuesday, February 16th, 2021. It is in fact 3:33 p.m. At that, can I get an adoption of the public meeting minutes held on Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021, please? Moved by Merv, seconded by Brent. Are there any errors or omissions? Then I will call for the vote. All in favor? Thank you, council. And at that, we are here for a zoning amendment, for a proposed zoning amendment in which the purpose and effect is to update the existing definitions for trailers and recreational vehicles. In addition, the proposed zoning amendment would change the land use provisions for the limited service residential exception 1 LSR-E1, limited service residential exception 2 LSR-E2, rural residential RR, rural RU, and residential 4 R4 zones to permit a trailer or recreational vehicle to be used at the to be used for accommodation. Is there any declaration of interest this afternoon? I see none. Thank you very much. Clerk's reports on notices.
So notice that the meeting was published in the Eganville Leader. It was also, I might add, added onto our website, and it was also in the January, February edition of the Bonnechere Valley newsletter.
Thank you very much, Dana. And at that, reading of written comments. Where are we starting, Annette? Who wants to start?
I can, and
Excellent.
I will read until my throat goes dry, and then I will let someone else take over, and I'm sure it'll come back around to me eventually.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will turn this meeting over to you at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. So the first letter that I have says, hi, my family has been a Lake Clear property owner for over 45 years, and I am a current property owner and taxpayer opposing the Bontra Valley Township Council's proposed bylaw amendment, permitting up to 4 RVs to be located on properties throughout the township. This includes Lake Clear, the only at-capacity lake in the township. Lake Clear property must be excluded from this bylaw. Lake Clear is a beautiful lake and needs to be protected. Allowing up to 4 RVs on a single property puts an already fragile lake deemed environmentally sensitive and at capacity at further risk of deterioration. The presence of multiple RVs on a single property impacts the land it is placed on, the health of the lake, water, and their delicate ecosystems. With each RV, there will be the clearing of property and the loss of habitat for creatures relying on the land. With the addition of multiple structures, will also bring additional motorcraft and their impact on the health of the lake. We have seen how in past years overfishing affected the presence of a variety of fish species and the difficult road to restore that by investing in restocking the lake with trout and prohibiting fishing of the species as they matured, which took a number of years. We have also seen the introduction of zebra mussels by motorcraft traveling from lake to lake and the threat they pose with their ability to quickly multiply, potentially destroying the lake. Finally, we have seen how one single creature one single structure illegally built on Foran's Island destroyed the island's ecosystem. It became a barren tundra. Once the building was forced to be removed, the island once again began to thrive. Imagine 4 trailers on that island. Imagine hundreds of these cases and the devastating impact it would have on the lake. As a property owner, we have had to amend building plans respecting setback restrictions and regulations. The RVs should have to follow the same setback and capacity rules as cottages. As a cottage owner and taxpayer invested in the protection of Lake Clear, I hope to be able to pass this property to future generations with bylaws and policies in place that will respect Lake Clear's beautiful environment. It is our duty to protect Lake Clear for years to come. Thank you for your consideration, Anne Marie Robinson. Mayor Murphy, as an owner of a Lake Clear property, I am writing to express my objection to the proposed amendment to bylaw 2006-28 concerning the placement and use of recreational vehicles. While the amendment's blanket provision to allow up to 4 recreational vehicles on certain properties may be appropriate in other parts of the township, it does not seem appropriate at Lake Clear in light of its designation as an at-capacity lake. I fully support the efforts of the LCPOA in researching the issue, consulting with subject matter experts, and reporting back to membership on findings. I understand that LCPOA have made presentations to BVT Council in the past, but it seems those efforts to inform local decision makers on the issue and the consequences of permitting additional development at the lake have been futile. It appears now that BVT is moving forward with a bylaw amendment which is both inconsistent with public policy pertaining to at-capacity lakes and completely dismissive of the information presented by the LCPOA. Lake Clear and all other similarly designed water bodies are due special recognition as unique environments. I am hopeful that you and BVT Council will reconsider the amendment to the bylaw as it pertains to Lake Clear. Yours truly, Steve Torrance. To Mayor Murphy and Bontra Valley Township Council, I am in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment number 2006-28 regarding RVs. Thank you for your time and effort on this issue. Philip Rosian. To all concerned, I grew up on Lake Clear and return often to see my family who still live on the lake. I am writing this letter to object to Mayor Murphy and Council's proposed amendment to bylaw 2006-28 regarding the placement of RVs on Lake Clear. My objection is that this amendment fails to protect the lake from environmental hazard by not including any restrictions on how RVs are managed, including way of location and treatment of effluent. I respectfully ask that you reconsider your positions. Lake Clear is beautiful and should be enjoyed by all, including future generations. Sincerely, Sean O'Brien Murray. Dear Mayor Murphy and Bontra Valley Councillors, we are sending this email to record our agreement with the proposed bylaw amendment 2006-28. We live on Foymount Road and also own a cottage on Lake Clear. We have been members of the Lake Clear Property Owners Association for many years and have not been informed of several decisions made by them until after the fact. It's unfortunate that some property owners are only getting one side of the story and are being manipulated to fall in line with the executive without the history being behind the issue. LCPOA have posted a petition on the Lake Clear site recommending that all visitors, family members, and anyone who has been to Lake Clear oppose this bylaw amendment. This is clearly getting ridiculous. This discussion and vote, if need be, should be exclusive to Bontra Valley taxpayers. We want to reiterate that the citizens of BV have the ability to make common sense decisions around how many trailers would be reasonable on said property and how to responsibly deal with waste. We appreciate the work that Mayor Murphy, Bontra Valley Council has done to try and get this past this RV situation. Frankly, it's been stressful and does not support good relations around the lake. We need this resolved very soon. Thank you, Ray McGrath, Debbie McGrath. To the CAO of Bontra Valley Township and at Gilchrist, my husband and I wish to state our opposition to the proposed amendment on bylaw 2006-28, allowing up to 4 RVs on properties on Lake Clear. This is simply not acceptable. As a longtime 30-year resident of Lake Clear and member of the LCPOA, I have become increasingly perturbed in the last few years by the lack of respect afforded to the LCPOA by the mayor and present councillors of Bontra Valley Township. Perhaps some historical background on the LCPOA is in order for the newly initiated. There have been cottages on Lake Clear since the early 1900s. Many of these properties around the lake are still owned by descendants of the original families, and many more are still owned by the influx of families who built cottages in the early 1950s. The LCOPA was established in 1979 in response to increased environmental concerns and the proposed construction of a slalom course in the middle of the lake, and the apparent reluctance of municipal leaders to address cottages' concerns. Over the years, the association has hosted many fundraising events to benefit both the lake and the township, all the while checking water quality, putting out buoys, doing fish counts, and many other things in the lake's best interests. For instance, Jackie Laqueur knocked on nearly 300 doors, handing out phosphate-free dish detergent to lake residents. In the early 1990s, the LCPOA had no choice but to appeal to the Ontario Municipal Board to stop development on Turner's Island. The LCPOA is very fortunate to consistently have a 72 to 74% paid up membership, even in 2020, the COVID year, of 311 lake properties. Many lake associations do not have nearly that level of support. I volunteered for the LCPOA from 2002 to 2017, starting as a Wyland Shore rep and then as membership chair and outreach chair. I served under Presidents Guy Jamieson, John McGowan, Phil Lancaster, and Lauren Monahan, all of whom worked incredibly hard for the lake and its members. Shore reps and executive members always met both spring and fall to plan committee work, discuss issues, and plan for the annual AGM. These meetings usually lasted 5 hours, with all issues being discussed, debated, and voted on, with everyone having an equitable voice, and no committee was ever struck without the full support of everyone in attendance. All Shore reps worked incredibly hard to keep members informed and heard. The annual general meeting was always well attended, with issues debated ad nauseum before being voted on. The Land Use Committee is an incredibly hardworking committee who have done exemplary work and should be lauded instead of criticized. When a new executive under Judy Bates took over in 2016, they decided to do a survey to determine if new priorities or goals were needed. Certainly a valid exercise. They did this in the most professional manner possible and tabulated the results as professionally as possible, only to have the survey at the council table, only to have the mayor denigrate this survey at the council table, stating she had a friend who had filled it out 25 times. More surprisingly, the council then decided to do their own survey of township residents to check on priorities, apparently confident that their survey would be more honestly done. I find that mind-boggling, but maybe that's just me. I have come to feel that any mention of the LCPOA at the council table brings out a negative bias, resulting in the fact that the LCPOA gets short shrift, but I certainly hope that I am wrong. From comments made at council and recounted in the leader, I feel that I've come to the conclusion that while it's obvious the pro-business lobby has the ear of council and always has, the LCPOA and those with grave environmental concerns for Lake Clear have not been listened to, nor will they be in the future. It seems to be a council that does not respect or follow the research on these matters. I feel the LCPOA has no choice but to be heard at a higher level of authority of government. The LCPOA has always done so in the past, what was needed to be done to protect the lake, and will continue to do so. That is why they enjoy the 72 to 74% support of lake residents. The fact that this council does not recognize these facts saddens me. Sincerely yours, Nelda Markham.
Annette, can you let one other participant into the meeting there? I see somebody had messaged in the chat.
Sure.
Thanks.
No problem. To whom it may concern, it brings me great sadness to consider the laws that are almost passed under the noses to those it affects most. In terms of trailers at Lake Clear, it is something that the Lake Clear Conservancy and Lake Clear Property Owners Association have tried very hard to regulate. The idea of 4 RV-style trailers being allowed per property terrifies me for the future generations to come at Lake Clear. Lake Clear was a beautiful place to grow up, and in my short 23 years, I have slowly watched as the condition of the lake continues to deteriorate. When given the opportunity, people often take full advantage of what is available to them. The possibility that our lakeside population grows by 400% in a small amount of time could be detrimental to our beautiful community. These trailers are not harmless day visits. They come along with additional recreational boats and waste. Each of the properties on the lake were built with an appropriate septic system for the number of rooms on the property. By allowing the possibility of up to 4 additional families to be dependent on the same system is a recipe for disaster. Once septic systems begin to act up, people will turn to the lake for their washings. Unfortunately, people are not always as considerate as we would like them to believe, resulting in harsh chemicals added to the lake. I understand that writing a letter can only accomplish so much, but I hope and pray that you have considered the potential effects before passing a law that could change the lives of and the future of my children. Sincerely, Nicole Bourne. Dear Ms. Jennings, I am a co-owner of property on Lake Clear. I am in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment number 2006-28. Thank you, Patrick Donahue. So I'll pass that now. I'm just going to take a break. So Dana, do you want to take over and read some? And then
Yeah, that was great, Annette. Thank you. But I think, yes, let's give Annette a break. And Dana, I'll turn this over to you. Thank you.
Perfect, thanks. Yes, I agree with the proposal to allow trailers at Lake Clear. Sincerely, Michael Sinclair. Dana, I say the trailer should stay on Lake Clear. Thanks, Jason Kelly. Hi, Jennifer. My family has had a summer cottage on Mulberry Lane at Lake Clear since 1955. 4 RVs on Lake Clear is not my first choice. I feel that the maximum of 2 RVs per lot would be a good choice, but if council decides to allow 4, that is fine with me. I support council in their decision. Shirley Appenzeller. I agree with the proposed bylaw regarding trailers on Lake Clear. Robin Felliber, I reside in Belcher Valley. We are in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2006-28. Tom and Shirley Holly. It has been a long road since the first discussion of restricting the use of RVs on Lake Clear. It is a good thing for council to put this issue to rest. It is a good thing council is not banning RVs as was the initial request. That would both be unlisted and unnecessary, while having lots of regulations to govern every issue might be needed in a densely populated area like Toronto or Ottawa. It is not necessary in a more remote, rural spot like BV. People who own property pay taxes each year and should be allowed to enjoy and use their property. Even people who own vacant waterfront property pay property taxes, and those are high enough already. Of greater concern are property standards issues than the use of RVs for seasonal dwellings. Why is this a go from a Lake Clear specific issue to a township-wide issue? If the concern is at capacity status of Lake Clear, why is this being brought in for the whole township? There's an incredible difference between a 1 acre or less waterfront property and a 20-acre rural lot or 150-acre farm. There has been a lot of talk from the Lake Clear property owners about how other municipalities handle RVs, but very little on how our neighbors do. Golden Lake has 4 different jurisdictions on the lake: BV, North Agona, Wilberforce, Killaloe, Haggerty, and Richards, and Pickawakagon. Does this mean residents of BV who live on Golden Lake have more restrictions on their property than our neighbors in NAW, KHR, or Pickawakagon do? Our tax rates are already higher than NAW and KHR. We have no issues with the definition of an RV as given in the bylaw, and the nature of the removable vehicle trailer means at some point there might be more than 4 RVs on a property if there is a family reunion wedding event where people bringing their RVs. Is this something that our bylaw officer would have to spend time policing if someone calls to complain? This is a waste of taxpayers' dollars. We need regulations, not more. Bigger government is not better government. With more regulation comes the need for policing them, and with this added cost to the property tax base with a need for more bylaw officers. We are a small rural municipality and our property taxes are already high. We have very few properties to share this tax burden, and creating extra issues to make things more complicated, expensive just doesn't make sense. Bringing in the waste water dumping RV station in Eganville was a great move and a positive response to their RV issue. Ralph and Debbie Christman. Mayor Jennifer Murphy and councillors of Bon Cheval Valley Township. I'm a property owner in Lake Claire, and I'm writing to object the proposed amendment to bylaw 2006-28 regarding the placement of RVs on Lake Claire. I've quietly followed this debate closely for the past several years with the hope that a sensible solution would prevail, but that does not seem to be the case, does not seem to be the case, so I feel I must express my views for consideration. My objection is that this amendment not only fails to protect the lake, but it could also very well contribute to environmental damage by its failure to include restrictions on how many RVs are managed in the way of location and treatment of influence. That makes it unique as the only piece of legislation that not only inconsistent, but in direct conflict with municipal bylaws, the official plan, all the provincial scientific studies and reports that recognize the need for strictly regulated development on Lake Claire, and on the basis that the lake is unquestionably environmentally sensitive and vulnerable, therefore requiring strong development controls to prevent it from being destroyed. The correct solution is to have a permanent and semi-permanent RV managed in the same manner as all property development, and that is with the need for municipal approvals when it comes as a form of semi-permanent or permanent accommodation. That is the only way we can have any assurance of the health of this lake and will continue to properly regulate and manage. I truly believe the lake is to be enjoyed and shared, and I fully accept the property development can be an accessible part of Lake Claire. But the lake is such a delicate and valuable resource. We must all be vigilant to protect it so future generations are able to enjoy it the way we have. Failure to do so step along the way could be perilous. This is one of those steps. One of the primary roles of the mayor and council is to lead the effort and protect the environment and to uphold the interests of its constituents, all of its constituents. I have the faith that you recognize the sacred trust as we as your constituents and ratepayers have placed you as mayor and council to recognize the critical importance of health of the lake means to all property owners, and we work alongside us to take appropriate measures to protect it. I respectfully ask that you seriously consider my arguments and implore you to reconsider your position regarding this amendment and do the right thing by adopting an RV management strategy that protects our lake and is consistent with all other Lake Claire development regulations as I have described. Best regards, Douglas.
Here, here.
I don't know who that was, but I'm going to ask that people don't weigh in. Thank you. We are in an actual planning meeting. Go ahead, Dave.
Dana, did you want to break? You want Sandra to do some?
All right, Sandra, over to you.
Mayor Murphy and Bon Cheval Valley councillors, as a long-term part-time resident of Lake Claire, 65 years, and a taxpayer for the last 15 years, I am writing to express my great concern and opposition to the proposed zoning amendment to allow the use of up to 4 recreational vehicles on a single residential lot. It is my understanding that Lake Claire's designation as an at-capacity lake has been accepted for many years by the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry and the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. Consequently, appropriate zoning laws were put in place to protect the lake and wildlife dependent on the lake and to ensure the quality and beauty of the lake would survive as we know and love it. I also understand that the proposed bylaw amendment contravenes the Ontario Planning Act, the provincial policy statement, the Renfrew County official plan, and Bonnechere Valley's own bylaws. It begs the question, why would the council propose such an amendment and who can possibly benefit from such a change? I would also ask if a risk benefit analysis is available to your constituents that you would support such a change. Given the universally shared concern regarding our environment, it is difficult for property owners to comprehend why the township would pursue such controversial action at this time. The damage that could be inflicted today would be endured by generations to come. That is not a legacy that I would choose to support. Consequently, I would urge the council to reconsider this bylaw amendment as it is currently proposed. If this bylaw is carried forward, I would strongly urge that Lake Claire, as a long-established sensitive lake, be excluded entirely. Sincerely, Nancy T. Nee McNamara and family. Dear Dana, for generations, my family has been living in the Lake Clear area. I'm writing to express my heartfelt feelings about the ongoing conflicts the Lake Clear Owner Association has been uprising over the years. My family and friends have already lost the fight to enjoy the Wyland Shore Beach conveniently. I recently read the write-ups about the RV issue in Lake Clear. In my personal opinion, the people in those trailers around Lake Clear contribute in a big portion of the revenue for the whole town throughout the summer. I think you'd be able to agree it is very difficult to keep a small town business going. Sadly, we see plenty of businesses fail in our area. Taking away the use of RVs would result in less people spending time in the area, less tourists. Cutting off tourists and certain local spending monies within Eganville and surrounding areas. Taking the enjoyment and right to enjoy owned land as you wish is not okay. We should have more freedom in this. Talking about the issue with other members from the community, one said, I'd say it's more a lack of enforcement. There are plenty of littering and pollution bylaws in place already. If that's the main issue, I would assume hiring another bylaw officer to enforce the rules would be a better option. And if there is an actual pollution littering problem around the lake, then the fines will generate more income for the township to cover the new employee's wage and keep the lake and area clean while businesses still generate income of tourism. I could not have said it better. The RVs are not the only thing being able to contribute to littering pollution. Therefore, I think we should not target one thing from the group of this issue. However, we use the enforcement we have. We do give more fines and educate at the scene of the crimes. Sincerely, Kelly Philibert. My husband and I agree with the Lake Clear Association and are against the bylaws proposed of as many as 4 trailers on a law full-time. Lake Clear is at capacity and should be treated differently. RVs should never be used as cottage replacements. In 1974, we had our cottage built by a local builder under strict building codes. The materials were purchased from the local businesses. We have paid our taxes, bought the waterfront, and have paid all the time for the maintenance of the road. We have always supported the local businesses. RVs are exempt from taxes and are being parked as close to the lake as they desire. We are dismayed at the deterioration of our lake. We were so proud to tell friends how pristine our lake was. You as council should also take pride in this jewel of a lake and vote against this bylaw. Keith and Helen LeBaron. To Mayor Murphy and Bonnechere Valley Township Council, we are in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2006-28 regarding RVs. Thank you for your time and effort on this issue. Karen and Robert Kitts. Dear Mayor Murphy and Bonnechere Valley Council, we have a family cottage at Lake Clear and we are writing to you to express our concerns with the upcoming item on your agenda to allow multiple RVs on a single property. We as cottage owners have always strived to actively respect all local, provincial bylaws as well as obey our environmental responsibilities to Lake Clear and the land surrounding it. Our opinion is that there are many items to be considered, i.e. waste management, impact on the lake surrounding the land. There are existing bylaws that are in effect provincially and locally regarding RVs and the use. We are unsure why the Bonnechere Valley Council are trying to recreate these bylaws. We are hoping that the consideration to pursue an alternative solution that will allow all parties to live in harmony and work together to protect the natural environment in Lake Clear and its surrounding lands. In closing, our concerns are in regards to tax fairness and environmental concerns, and we do not support the change to allow multiple RVs on a single property. Sincerely, Kathy and Rob Webb. To BVT
Sandra, before you go on, Annette, can you mute everybody except Sandra for me? Thank you.
I think everyone is muted except Sandra, but you caught Erica coming from the hallway, so I'll shut the door.
Oh, sorry.
So To BVT Council, I would like to state that I do not have any concerns with the proposed changes to bylaw 2006-28. In my opinion, since COVID-19 lockdowns, family getting back together and enjoying the lake in an RV or tent, trailer or tent, etc., should be a priority. June Pink. To Mayor Murphy and Bonnechere Valley Township Council, we are in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2006-28 regarding RVs. Thank you for your time and effort on this issue. Judy Hankey. To Jennifer Murphy and BV Township Council, we are in agreement with the proposed bylaw in regards to RVs. We both reside in BV, Josh and Jenna Felleber. I support allowing trailers on Lake Clear, Jim Ludgate. Please be advised that we are vehemently opposed to the idea of any RVs on Lake Clear properties. RVs belong in RV parks. An RV could be used as a temporary residence until a permanent structure is built with an acceptable time frame, i.e. 2 years. Picture this, every property on Lake Clear with 4 RVs on it. I can't express enough what a huge mistake that would be. Permanent and seasonal residences must abide by all the regulations of the township. Septic, distance from property lines, etc. Every property owner on the lake must pay municipal, county, and educational taxes. That is not up for debate. Property owners using RVs as residents should be made to pay the same as the rest of us. This could seriously affect everyone's property value. Please, please, please do not let this happen. Thank you. Jim and Adrian Rapp and family. Hello, I am writing regarding Mayor Murphy and Council's proposed amendment to bylaw 2006-28 regarding the placement of RVs on Lake Clear. Lake Clear is an extremely important to our family and one of my favorite places in the world. It takes us about 7 hours from our house to get to the cottage, but it is so worth the trip. The calm and quiet lake is unlike anywhere else I have been. You truly have to see it to believe it. I have been to many other cottages on many other lakes, and none of them compare to the beautiful preserved waters of Lake Clear. The thought of rows of trailers along the shoreline is heartbreaking for many reasons. I am very concerned about the proposed amendment to bylaw 2006-28 because I do not believe it is in the best interest for this environmentally sensitive lake. Each resident has worked hard up until this point to make choices that prioritize the environment and wildlife that we are privileged to enjoy. Please do not take this for granted. Why consider making this decision that will jeopardize Lake Clear and its habitats? The lake has been deemed at capacity, yet this bylaw will result in the addition of many residents. There is no difference whether a resident is in a cottage, bunkie, or an RV. As a young mom, I hope that there will be a clean, healthy, and swimmable Lake Clear for my children and for generations to come. I strongly urge Mayor Murphy and Council to reject the proposed amendment to bylaw 2006-28 regarding the placement of RVs on Lake Clear. Sincerely, Jillian Mills. To Bonnechere Council, please consider the consequences of your actions regarding the allowance of RVs per property at Lake Clear. Lake Clear has been deemed a sensitive lake after the oil leaked from the roadside in our beautiful body of water. As a result, property severances were no longer allowed on the lakeside lots. This was an official decision that was made with good reason. And by allowing 4 RV trailers per property would demolish everything that we are trying to protect when we put these laws in place. Allowing this law to pass without the proper considerations would be incredibly irresponsible. We tried to fight against the irresponsible measures surrounding large fishing derbies at our lake in hopes to avoid an infestation of zebra mussels. However, no one would listen, and here we are left with the invasive zebra mussels that have now infested our lake. Please do not wait until the consequences are irreversible before making the reasonable decision. Regards, Mitch Bourne. I am a resident of Lake Clear and a member of the LCPOA, and I do not support the position taken by the LCPOA with respect to the use of RVs at Lake Clear. The LCPOA executive aggressively pursued this issue without presenting it before the membership for a formal vote of approval. Common sense should prevail, and I am certain those property owners who have RVs on their lots do not dump or collect its waste inappropriately. The association should have been providing information on best practices to all property owners with respect to environmental issues. Rather, they wasted time and effort on this non-issue instead of aggressively pursuing a mitigation effort to prevent the introduction of invasive species into the lake, such as zebra mussels. They are here now, and our lake will suffer as a result. Thank you, Mike McGrath. Dear Mayor Murphy and Bonnechere Valley Township Councillors, I am sending this email to record my agreement with the proposed bylaw amendment 2006-28. I live on Kennedy Road and have a cottage at Lake Clear. I have been a member of the Lake Clear Property Owners Association for several years and have frequently felt uninformed about several decisions made by them until after the fact. The LCPOA has never been as divisive as it is now. And with the exception of the Eganville leader, anyone with a view opposing this group has no option of passing along alternative information to the rest of the property owners. The LCPOA posted a petition opposing the bylaw on a Facebook page called Everything Lake Clear. As well, an email was sent to all members encouraging them to sign the petition. In fact, not only were they encouraging all adult family members to sign the petition, as compared to our usual one vote per membership, they were also encouraging all visitors, family members, and anyone who has been to Lake Clear to sign in opposition of this bylaw amendment. Sounds outrageous to me. This discussion and vote, if needed, should be exclusive to Bonnechere Valley taxpayers. As well, the hiring of a lawyer by an anonymous person or group could easily be seen as bullying. I don't believe that any of the people who enjoy Lake Clear, whether that be in a home, a cottage, an RV, or a tent, have any less respect for the responsibility of being a steward of the environment than people anywhere else in the municipality. In fact, I believe that the explosion of seasonal cottages to year-round homes over the last years has had a greater environmental impact on the lake than a few weeks or weekends of cottage or RV use. I appreciate the work that Bonnechere Valley Council has done to try and resolve this RV issue. It is my hope that we can put this issue past us and return to being good neighbors with respect for all. Thank you, Megan McGrath. Hello, Dana. I trust I am sending this to the correct person. If not, can you please forward it to whomever in Bonnechere Valley that it should go to? I wish to voice concern over the proposed bylaw change that would allow RVs up to 4 on any property outside the village of Eganville. I am a property owner in Bonnechere Valley and have worked hard to make a living and have invested in property that will form a portion of my nest egg and hopefully grow in value so that later in life this investment can be used to care for myself and spouse. Now council sees fit to take my investment, devalue it by allowing controlled up to 4 trailer RVs to be parked right up to my property. My property is on Lake Clear, some of the most valuable property in Bonnechere Valley, and along with that, the high value goes high taxes. Should this amendment go through, I am certain that a myriad of property owners will be challenging their impact evaluations, and I sure it all would take the assessor reviewing the trailer park next door to come to the conclusion that their property value has decreased significantly, and by design, our town taxes would fall accordingly. Who will make up this shortfall? I would suggest that landowners exempt from this decision, the village of Eganville. I can only speak for myself, but I am sure many other property owners feel the same way. Further, this idea flies in the face of being a responsible, eco-friendly government body. Lake Clear has been deemed sensitive and has no room for further development. To allow this type of activity is ecologically irresponsible. I could go on, but I am sure you get the idea. I want to go on record and ensure council is aware of my objection to this proposed bylaw change. Thank you, Matt St. Louis.
Do you want me to read for a bit, Sandra?
Sure.
Okay. So Mayor Jennifer Murphy and Council, I and my wife are writing to you regarding the solicitation by council for the public views on the proposed amendment to the bylaw 2006-28 respecting the use of recreational vehicles. Firstly, we are in agreement with a recent submission to the township and arguments put forward by Karine Sobalski dated February 3rd, 2021 and attached as Appendix B. Secondly, we recommend that council study the matter in a more comprehensive manner in order to put forward an amendment that will serve the community well in the future by clearly setting the rules and help prevent disputes between neighbors and strike a balance between those who oppose the use of travel trailers and those who wish to use travel trailers for short and long-term stays. Please find attached Appendix A with excerpts from a J.L. Richards engineering report and draft bylaw presented to the Council of the Municipality of French River. We wish to point out selected excerpts from these documents as we feel they are basic yet essential elements that should be included in any such bylaw. Topics such as addressing long-term use by RVs, sanitation, environment, erecting peripheral structures, being added to the RV, etc. I have included a web link to the report as a footnote. In addition, we wish to provide the following comments. There's a typo in section B where section 2.156 is stated and it should be read 2.159. The terminology in 3.37A where it states notwithstanding section 3, 3.9, 3.22 appears to be a total exemption of all these clauses, which we disagree with, in particular 3.22, which has included an important description we highlight in bold below. 3.22 occupancy of vehicles. No truck, bus, coach, vehicle, recreational vehicle, or trailer shall be used as a primary residence for permanent human habitation within the municipality, whether or not the same is mounted on wheels. At a minimum, please amend the definition in the proposed 2.159 to include the highlighted text to avoid a loophole by taking the wheels off. The amendment should clearly prohibit placing RVs on a lot for the purpose of being used for commercial and or rental purposes, allow but limit the number of RVs being used for non-commercial personal use, state an RV is only for temporary human habitation and not longer for 3 months in total in any calendar year unless otherwise permitted, address sanitation and environmental concerns, address potential issues of prolonged noise from generators that are often used to power RVs day and night, and ensure respect of existing bylaw setbacks or setbacks deemed appropriate given the type of lot size location. Finally, as township is struggling to find new revenues, the licensing of RVs provides one such avenue to charge permit fees. Non-BVT residents in RVs and their occupants who stay for longer term or seasonal use must be expected to contribute to the wear and tear on the roads, use of recreational facilities such as the local parks, trails, use of medical facilities, and other amenities. We must take into consideration that property owners already are allowed to increase use of their land by section 3.30 that allows sleep cabins. To also allow the possibility of crowding in up to 4 RVs is irresponsible in terms of meeting proper sanitation needs and respecting the environment. In promoting the likelihood of conflicts with neighbors with excessive noise, excessive wear and tear on private roads, blocking the road with multiple cars parked, has already been a significant issue on our road with significant conflict, profanity, and verbal abuse between side-by-side neighbors due to the lack of respect by owners and or their guests. 3.30 sleep cabins. Notwithstanding any other provisions of this bylaw to the contrary, a sleep cabin shall be permitted in all RU, LSR1, LSR2, and R4 zones where residential uses and or hunting or fishing camps are permitted, provided that they do not exceed a maximum cumulative floor area of 18 square meters and they meet the minimum setback provisions as required for the principal use, and there is an existing dwelling and or hunting or fishing camp on the same lot. There must be a more balanced and rational approach in limiting the number of RVs, for example, a limit by lot size. Example, minimum lot size of half an acre being entitled to host 1 RV, 1 to 2 acre lot size being able to host 2 RVs, and so on. Control would be done through the licensing process which permits are required for any stay longer than 14 days or any such number of days. Clearly, the thoughtful and comprehensive approach taken by the proposed bylaw by the Council of the Municipality of French River can be an example for our township, whether in whole or in part, as it deems appropriate. Such action would be a large step in the right direction for the BVT property owners. We thank the township for the opportunity to respond, and we sincerely hope that improvements be made, as we can only imagine the conflicts and complaints that will be caused by the township's current proposed amendments. Kindest regard, Julie and James Callan. My family has had a summer cottage on Mulberry Lane at Lake Clear since 1955. 4 RVs on Lake Clear is not my first choice. I feel that a maximum of 2 RVs per lot would be a good choice, but if council decides to allow 4, that's fine with me. I support council in their decision. Shirley Appenzeller. I am sending this letter on behalf of the Boncher River Watershed project in support of concerns raised by the Lake Clear Property Owners Association regarding RVs at the lake. Lake Clear is special given its lake trout fishery and is recognized by the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry and in the current county official plan as an at-capacity lake for development. In our opinion, the LCPOA is justified in their concern about further development pressure from RVs on Lake Clear, waterfront properties that are being used as cottage replacements or supplements. Based on the legal opinion provided to BVT in December 2020, the LCPOA RVs being used as cottage replacements or supplements, which would include those being stored on the property and those located in bona fide tourist commercial zone, should be removed. It was also noted that because their use is unlawful, those RVs cannot be grandfathered under a bylaw amendment. As we noted in previous correspondence, increasing numbers and utilization of RVs on Lake Clear are problematic for protecting water quality and maintaining a 30-meter strip of shoreline as natural or undeveloped to conserve shoreline integrity, water quality, and wildlife, both terrestrial and aquatic. Thus, it makes no sense that BVT should now be proposing a bylaw amendment that would allow up to 4 RVs on a lot, apparently since it is not stated, regardless of the lot size or configuration. Also of concern is that it would be setting a precedent for intensified development in other municipalities in the county. We are also sympathetic to concerns about taxation fairness and impacts on neighboring shoreline and other property values that are reflected directly in municipal tax revenue. In the nearby and at the moment more extreme case of Muskrat Lake, residents are filing for tax and valuation reductions based on loss of enjoyment of property and reduction in tourism. Both North Frontenac County and the municipality of North Frontenac have shown leadership in their official plan and municipal licensing bylaw, respectively, to control the use of RVs and provide an excellent example of how this issue can be addressed to provide environmental protection and socioeconomic equity. We look forward to the discussion by BVT Council on this issue and revision to the proposed bylaw amendment for its satisfactory resolution. Sincerely,
Annette,
Yep.
before we continue, I'm getting chats that maybe one letter was read twice.
I was, when I read the, that one, I feel like Dana read it. The Shirley Appenzeller. Dana, do you read that one too, eh? So it must have
All
just
right.
printed twice. Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
Thank you for the confirmation.
It was only recorded once in our spreadsheet, but somehow an extra copy got stuck in both our packs.
No worries. I just wanted to be able to respond to the people that are chatting.
Okay, yes, thank you. We are in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2006-28 RVs, Shirley and Tom Hawley. As a property owner on Lake Clear, please record that I am unequivocally opposed to BVT's proposed bylaw allowing up to 4 RVs per property. Paraphrasing an old adage, it is not ignorance that is the downfall of truth, but rather the belief that no one knows when one either simply doesn't, or perhaps even worse, pretends to know. Following council's mismanagement of this issue for the past 5 years has been a disheartening experience. For the first few years, council's handling of this topic reminds me of a group of kids playing hot potato as councilors quickly pass the topic from one to the next without adding any thought or insight of value. Drawing from articles in the Leader and recording on YouTube, it was fascinating to chart on paper the transactional dialogue between council members during these discussions. In the past year, as council members have taken it upon themselves to speak as though they really do have some level of expertise, when things have become much worse. Please note that I do not expect council to agree with me or the LCPOA on all issues, but what I do believe is owing to the people of Lake Clear is a level of informed and thoughtful engagement, which in this situation is totally lacking, a sham to be more concise. From the very beginning, the LCPOA has stressed how articles found in the provincial policy statement regarding lakes at capacity flow down to form a significant factor in Renfrew County's official plan, which along with the Ontario Planning Act's definition of an RV formally bind BVT. Have council members carefully and thoughtfully followed the legal trail from beginning to end? Council deliberations suggest that they have not. What level of expertise have they to summarily dismiss the LCPOA's position? Everything suggests that they don't have any, and worse still, haven't sought the independent opinion of those who do. On 2 occasions, council was addressed by Victor Castro, a scientist and surface water expert, who also spoke on behalf of the provincial position on this matter. He stated emphatically that Lake Clear is overdeveloped, that RVs are a form of development, and that action should be taken to reduce their numbers. Who among council has carefully sifted through Mr. Castro's material and sought the opinion of other experts where needed? It is bewildering how little significance has been given to his shared wealth of knowledge during council discussions. What level of expertise have council members to summarily dismiss Victor Castro's position? Again, everything suggests that they don't have any, and worse still, haven't sought the independent opinion of an equivalent expert. Lastly, council has been presented with the LCPOA's legal position as researched and written by an Ottawa law firm that specializes in municipal law. Who among council has carefully sifted through the legal statement and sought needed expertise? Instead of hearing an informed discussion, we witnessed our mayor making further comments about the LCPOA. What level of expertise have council members to summarily dismiss a legal firm's position? Yet again, everything suggests that they don't have any. Worse still, they haven't sought independent opinion of those who do, or perhaps having actually been advised that the LCPOA legal position is sound, are simply playing dumb in presenting a bylaw that is purportedly meant to clear up any ambiguity. In conclusion, council's handling of the RV issue at Lake Clear simply doesn't make sense. Offers by the LCPOA to work with council members have been ignored. Presented expertise has been readily dismissed. Council members' level of response reflects an unacceptable mindset of I think, I believe, but never is there any substantive assurance that I actually know. And that is the scary part for those of us who are depending on council to make a wise and judicious decision in proposing 4 RVs per lot. One wonders who is pulling council members' chains. Is it one or more of the few property owners who would benefit from this proposed bylaw? Councillor Buchwald is reputed to have several RVs on his property, and if so, why hasn't he recused himself? With 34 private roads leading to waterfront versus 3 public, why does council feel that it has the right to impose increased traffic on roads that were originally built and now continue to be maintained by property owners? Why is there the ongoing disparagement of the LCPOA when it has put forth a professional effort to inform and obviously inept council, and when is it in fact the most highly supported lake organization in this area with an ever-increasing membership? Are there other influencers impacting councillors' attitudes and decision-making? As a retired teacher, I grade council's group effort on this matter to date as sad. Lauren Monahan. To Mayor and BV Council, I am opposed to any bylaws on what I can do or cannot do with my property. In no way, shape, or form, silence cannot be interpreted as consent to anything. It is unlawful. Ballots are recognized as a legal contract. Therefore, this anonymous group who formed a land use committee has violated everyone's rights on Lake Clear. Permission should have been voted on by all taxpaying property owners on Lake Clear. Before this committee violated our rights and privacy by photographing and trespassing on our properties and lakefronts. Written notices should have been given to all of us. Barry Gudsey. To Mayor Murphy and Boncher Valley Township Council, we are in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2006-28 regarding RVs. Thank you for your time and effort on this issue. Tom and Kim Jackson. Boncher Valley Council members, I was born and raised in Sebastopol Township and have been a cottage owner on Lake Clear for over 55 years. I am writing to let each of you know how frustrated and disappointed I am with the council's approach to addressing the RV issue on Lake Clear. Other than the current pandemic, in my mind, the environment is one of the biggest issues we in the Ottawa Valley and the world face. All of the ministry reports clearly state that Lake Clear is a sensitive at capacity lake, and yet I have never heard or seen any reference to this fact by the council. In reality, it appears that you completely ignore these reports. Following are my specific concerns, comments, and questions. Why has it taken so long for the council to address the bylaw of RVs? It seems just a little too convenient to be addressing this in the middle of a pandemic and during the winter, where the only opportunity is for people to raise their concerns in an online forum. I am not online. Why is it appropriate that some individuals can avoid paying taxes, building codes, zoning restrictions, and other regulations by using RVs as cottages or cottage supplements when the rest of us have invested in good septic systems, followed all rules, and pay excessive taxes? Why does the council feel that they don't have to uphold and enforce the direction and advice of the Renfrew County Official Plan and the Ontario Policy Statement? Why hasn't the council even considered what other more progressive townships are doing? How will the human waste from these RVs be handled when RVs won't need to be connected to a legally appropriate septic system for black and gray water intake? Who will monitor this? Perhaps if these structures are taxed, the council would have additional money in the budget to do inspections. Why 4 RVs? I can't help think that this is to accommodate just 2 or 3 residents. I'm actually appalled that this council attacks and questions the integrity and motives of hardworking volunteers who love and want to protect our lake. I read the Eganville Leader this week, which has inspired me to write this letter. Really, I expect more of people I elected. In closing, I'm really disappointed and embarrassed how this council has addressed the RV issue, but I hope and trust that you will do the right thing and uphold the oath each of you have taken and represent and serve all of your constituents fairly and do what it takes to protect our beautiful valley and lakes. Sincerely, Loretta Henke. To Mayor and BV Council, I am opposed to any bylaws in regards to the RV issue at hand at Lake Clear. I am also shocked that our council would waste valuable time and money on this issue. An anonymous group formed a land use committee and violated my rights and privacy and everyone else's on the lake. These people should be paying your wages, not our tax dollars. Jean Goodsit. Yes, I agree with the proposal to allow trailers at Lake Clear. Jamie Agnew, fellow. Mayor Jennifer Murphy and councillors of Boncher Valley Township. There is no difference between year-round house, cottage, and an RV. They all have kitchens, bathrooms, and all have the same restrictions and regulations. I've been fortunate enough to have been coming to Lake Clear from the day I was born, and it is an amazing privilege to live year-round and call Lake Clear my home. Nelda Markham gathered stories from many families around Lake in her book, Lake Clear Treasured Memories. Everyone from the past or present in this book proudly called Lake Clear home. Whether you cottage, camp, visit, or live here year round, I am sure a majority of people feel as passionate about Lake Clear as I do. We all want the same thing, and that is to have Lake Clear remain the amazing, pristine lake we have all come to love. As a child, we camped, had picnics, and swam on the islands. We could drink water straight out of the lake, and we always left the island as clean as they were when we arrived. We cannot drink water out of the lake anymore, and many of the islands have either no camping or have to be regulated to ensure they are not being abused. The PCBs that were spread on Lake Clear Road many years ago nearly destroyed the lake and left us concerned about eating the fish for 15 years. Years ago, Foreign's Lodge, now Opeongo Mountain Resort, and Boys and Girls Camp, now Whispering Pines, rented out a dozen of cabins. Today, these locations have become a small village of cabins and RVs. Between these two locations and development on the lake, there has been a considerable amount of boat traffic and an increased number of bass tournaments. Without a proper boat washing station at the two resorts, zebra mussels are now part of Lake Clear. Many of the islands have been purchased by the Lake Clear Conservancy to prevent what has happened to Turner's Island. The Turner's Island owner sent a letter to the Eganville editor supporting RV because he said, "I have one on my property." This owner has no RV from the point on the lake that he launches his boat to go to Turner's Island. So therefore the RV plus his cottage is on Turner's Island. The owners for years has wanted to sever the island and sell the lots. You are about to hand him a big gift at the destruction of Lake Clear. I have no doubt that he will add 3 more RVs on his land right at the shoreline. His present RV and 3 more will never have the ability to have their waste or gray water properly disposed of. When do we say enough is enough? It has been documented as of 2 years ago, there were 50 unregulated RVs. By now, I am sure there are many more. Some of them are permanent, but a majority arrive in May and take them out in October. In several locations, some of these RV locations far exceed your proposed 4 per lot. Most cottagers arrive in May and leave in October. For 6 months, cottagers have to follow the rules of living at a cottage that has a regulated distance to shoreline, septic systems, and 1 dwelling per lot. Why should the approximate 325 cottagers, year-round residents, have to follow the rules, and yet 50 RVs do not have to abide by these rules and regulations? I'm not sure why the town council is choosing to deal with the RV issue in the middle of winter. Regardless, it is very challenging for everyone because it pits neighbors against neighbors. I am sure the people that have many RVs on their lots will be upset by having to abide by the same rules as the rest of the Lake Clear property owners. Tents, sleeping cabins, weekend RV visitors are not a problem, but permanent RV or seasonal RV will contribute to the present and future destruction of Lake Clear. If you pass this bylaw, number 2006-28 of the Corporation of the Township of Boncher Valley, you are contributing and allowing this lake to be overwhelmed environmentally. The MNRF and MECP have already deemed Lake Clear at capacity. Mayor Jennifer Murphy and councillors of Boncher Valley Township, you will be going directly against the guidance of the Ontario legislation, and your action will risk the environmental health for Lake Clear in the years. I am not sure why the town council thinks that a majority of the people that rent, visit, or live at Lake Clear are in favor of multiple and unregulated RVs. We are not, and this will become more evident through letters, petitions, and participating in the February 16th Zoom chat. It is tough to make the right decisions, but for the sake of Lake Clear's future, I hope council makes the right one. Sincerely, Shayla Mills. Dana, do you want to take a turn?
Sure.
Say that was a tough one. I apologize. I'm sure everybody saw the chat. We were getting letters like up until right before this meeting that are being included in this. So if you had asked Dana for a number of for and against, or the number that she got, she wouldn't have been able to tell you until right now. Take it away, Dana.
To whom it may concern, I would like to express my displeasure and opposition to the proposed Boncher Valley Township new RV bylaw amendment to be presented at the council meeting on February 16, 2021, especially as it pertains to lakefront lots and specifically to Lake Clear. This proposed bylaw amendment contravenes Ontario provincial policies, Brantford County plans, and original BVT bylaws, and therefore demonstrates a lack of understanding with respect to the sensitive nature of Lake Clear environment and lakefront lots in general. This in light of many representations to BVT from a number of credible organizations over the past 5 years, including the Lake Claire Property Owners Association, legal firms, and provincial ministries. These organizations have provided very clear and concise information on the sensitive nature of Lake Claire and the environmental ramifications of allowing RVs on lakefront lots without adhering to the same regulations imposed on the cottages. While this bylaw amendment may be suitable for acreages, it certainly is not appropriate for most lakefront lots, especially Lake Claire. I would like my opposition to this amendment noted and would also like to attend the February 16th Zoom meeting. Thank you, Cheryl Duluth. To Mayor Murphy and Butcher Valley Township Council, we are in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2006-28 regarding RVs. Thank you for your time and effort on this issue. Your article in the Eganville Leader earlier this month that addressed this matter was very good. We are proud that council is standing up for the local people and not the city people. Barry Virch Donovich. We are aware of the recent notice to allow up to four RVs to be placed on Lake Claire lots without consideration for lot size or density of the area, number of cottages in the immediate area. We already have ongoing problems with cars parked on our fragile lake shoreline and parked on roadside, threatening the potential of emergency vehicles moving through. Those launching boats at Lake Claire on the one public launch refused to pay the patrial sum of $5 to park at Opeongo, or what limited public parking available is, most cases $5. Allowing 4 unregulated RVs to be added to lots in Lake Claire is another threat to Lake Claire. Adding insult to injury is that those currently using RVs don't contribute 1 cent to municipal services. Development brings the risk of further degrading to our at capacity lake, and these are development. If we don't even have enough resources deploy bylaw officers to enforce no parking along Lake Claire Road, how are we able to monitor the unregulated use of RVs? We already have zebra mussels on Lake Claire. We agree that as a property owner, you should be able to use your property as you wish. However, the addition of 4 more families on Lake Claire property is dangerous and against all provisions for at capacity lakes, and we do not support this proposed bylaw amendment. On another note, with the addition of these RVs, they don't have to comply with the 33% maximum dwelling capacity of the property where property owners have already complied. As we understand this amendment to the proposed bylaw, does this mean as a property owner, we can put 4 RVs on our property, putting us over the 33% dwelling capacity? Perhaps go further, save on municipal service, demolish the cottage, just have the RVs. Having said all this, our at capacity lake cannot handle this proposed bylaw amendment. It will just be opening a can of worms for interpretation. Lake Claire cannot handle environmental impact of this bylaw, so let us continuing to focus on keeping the lake clear. Regards, Cheryl and Garfield Ray. Dear Mayor Murphy and Buncher Valley Township Council, we are writing to you with regards to the proposed bylaw amendment 2006-28 regarding RVs within Buncher Valley Township. We are in agreement with the proposed bylaw amendment that you want to put place within the township. We believe that it is a fair bylaw, allowing people to utilize their own personal property as they please, as long as they are abiding by the rules outlined. We are both trailer owners and homeowners within the township and pay our fair share of taxes to the township. We support the local economy through the year, not just during the summer months. We respect our lake just as we would expect all property owners to. This is a place where we come to enjoy hot summer days and make memories with our families. We have the same rights as any other property owner on the lake who have already established their properties and dwellings to the best of their needs, i.e. landscaping, bunkhouses, tree removal, additions. Apparently some rules that the LCPOA mentioned must not have applied to them in the previous years. We are very grateful for the time and effort you've put into this issue, and we sincerely hope that you are able to amend this bylaw and continue to allow us to enjoy our time on Lake Claire with our family. Thank you for your time, Brennan McGrath and Tiffany McGrath. Attention, Mayor Murphy and Council. Our names are Barry and Jacqueline Clear, and we own 573 Lake Clear Road property since August 2005. I, Barry, have been on the lake for over 50 years. My parents built this cottage and then retired and made it their home. We love this area, and this is why we also retire here. We have attended meetings in the past, which we are now aware that the LCPOA are still continuing to fight the removal of trailers. We have a trailer which we use in the summer. We retired a couple of years ago, moved from Ottawa, and built a garage for our toys. We want to soon build our home. Trailers have self-contained water systems, or some may have access to existing systems on their property. On our property, we have a composting toilet. The problem, in our opinion, are not with trailers, but in the last few years, we've had larger issue with cormorants. Their feces are destroying the lake's vegetation, and they also consume a large number of fish. In 2020, we now have a problem with zebra mussels. In 2020, there were 5 to 10 times more bass tournaments than any other years, and many more boats. The COVID-19 and the province locking down many activities, in our opinion, made for a larger number of bass tournament activities. Taking out our dock, we found zebra mussels. Many of our neighbors indicating they found the same problem, which in previous years, this was not an issue. We believe the focus should be placed on improving the lake would be make a plan to remove the cormorants, which is not a species to this area, and have a process to check boats before they enter into the lake. We know that this would be difficult to monitor. We give our support to the council for the new bylaw amendment on the use of the RV trailers and hope you will be able to pass it. The LCPOA is circulating a petition to make the count higher. They have all members of the household to sign the petition. Along with that, they have their friends, family, Quest, and renters that do not have property on this lake signing the petition. Why are these people having any say on what we can and cannot do on our property, which we pay taxes and properly maintains the property? The LCPOA petition count should not be considered as to what the property owners really agree to. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. Cordially, Barry and Jacqueline Kerr. Attention Mayor Murphy and Township of Buncher Valley Council. First and foremost, I want to sincerely thank you for all the time and ongoing effort that has been dedicated in attempts to amend the issue that was brought forth regarding the use of recreational vehicles on Lake Claire. I write to you today on behalf of my husband, Michael McGrath, and I want to make note that we support the recently proposed amendment to the Township of Buncher Valley Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw number 2006-28 brought forth by the Corporation of the Township of Buncher Valley regarding the use of recreational vehicles. My husband and I are taxpayers who reside independently in Buncher Valley at 1676 Foyment Road. We want to thank you again for your ongoing dedication to finding a fair solution to this matter. Sincerely, Carrie Lynn and Michael McGrath. Dear Mayor Murphy and Buncher Valley Township Councillors, as a property owner in Lake Claire, I'm strongly opposed to allowing this amendment to pass. Permitting up to 4 RVs to be located on properties throughout the township, which includes Lake Claire, is clearly wrong and irresponsible. Lake Claire is designated an at-capacity lake and is actually beyond capacity. Because of this, development is severely restricted. Recreational vehicles used as cottage replacements are clearly a form of unregulated development, which must be limited or stopped. Lake Claire property owners are substantial contributor of tax dollars to the township, and our concerns should be taken seriously. Sincerely, K.R. Thompson. Just a quick note to let you know that we are in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2006-28 relating to our RVs. We appreciate council time and effort in this file. Thanks, Chris Heiderman, Lindsay Hayhurst. To Mayor Murphy and Buncher Valley Township Council, we are in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2006-28 regarding RVs. Thank you for your time and effort on this issue. Sincerely, Leo P. Kelly and Joan M. Kelly. Dear Madam Mayor, we are writing to express our concern regarding the environmental impact of development at Lake Claire. The proposal to permit multiple mobile homes on the waterfront lands with no environmental regulation jeopardizes an irreplaceable environmental resource. I am opposed to this project and wish to include in other discussions regarding this matter. Thanks, Leslie Earle.
Dana, do you want Sandra to take over or you want to do one more?
Do one more. The purpose of this email is to formally advise you that I do not support in any way the RV bylaw change. I am in full support of the position taken by the LCPOA. The following are my specific questions and comments. Other than the current pandemic, does council not realize that along with the rest of the world, Canadians are extremely concerned about the environment? It would seem to me that it would be prudent that BVT's bylaws be written specifically for lakes deemed environmentally sensitive. Why has council not acknowledged and respected the opinions presented by qualified ministry officials confirming that Lake Killer is an at-capacity lake? Rather, you choose to hire someone without qualifications, using our taxpayers' dollars to refute expert opinions and further delay the process. Why has it taken 5 years to address this issue? Why was the legal opinion that council sought one of the many reasons for delays never shared? Why on earth does the proposed bylaw include 4 RVs? Even 1 RV used as a permanent replacement for a cottage is too much. I hate to say, but it appears that 4 was chosen to accommodate a few people who currently have more than 1 RV on their property being used as a cottage, or council's really trying to agitate Lake Clear cottage owners for whatever reason. Why did council not consider working together with the LCPOA to come to a beneficial resolution when the LCPOA volunteered to assist on numerous occasions? When so many other municipalities have enforceable revenue generating and environmentally strong bylaws in place with respect to the RVs being used as cottage replacements or supplements, why can BVT not allow what has been implemented and works so well? I am certain that most law-abiding cottage owner you would speak to would object to RVs being used for weekends and the occasional week during the summer. What most of us object is when RVs are permanently installed as a replacement or as a second cottage, not adhering to the rules and regulations that the rest of us uphold, for which we are taxed. Further, I'm extremely disappointed and frankly embarrassed by the article in the Eganville Leader entitled LCPOA Opinion on Lake Clear RV Issue Question at Council. Instead of dealing with a 5-year-old issue, you are more concerned as to who has paid for the legal opinion and to single out the LCPOA president, a volunteer who has tirelessly worked, although with others, on getting what council has tried to say was an ambiguous bylaw respected. As for Councillor Rosner's statements, he has totally missed the point in my humble opinion. Renovations or additions to cottages are all approved by the building inspector. I'm sure Mark Schroeder must do his job well and ensure that all setbacks are respected, septic systems installed, and limitations on number of other buildings on the property not hooked up to water or sewer are strictly adhered to. Taxes, too, are appropriately adjusted to take these renovations and additions into account. Trying to divert attention away from the RV issue with these comments is shameful. I do trust that council will listen, adhere to the provincial policy statement and the Renfrew County official plan, and come up with a bylaw that represents the wishes of a number of taxpayers. I respectfully ask that you please do not pass this bylaw and become an advocate instead of opposing the protection of our beautiful county and lakes. Leanne Pepper.
Thanks, Dana. Sandra, before you go ahead, I just want to warn everybody that's on this Zoom and watching on YouTube, we're only about a third of the way through these letters. So our CAO and I are trying to figure out what to do. So I'll turn this back over to Sandra, but Annette, maybe you and I should have a chat on the phone.
Okay, I am a resident of BV and I support having trailers at properties around Lake Clear. I myself have a trailer at Lake Clear on my father's property. Matt Felliver. Dear Reeve and council members, this letter is in regards to the proposed recreational vehicle RV bylaw concerning Lake Clear, as we are property owners. This letter allows us to be part of the legal process after February 16th, 2021 meeting. At this time, we would like to be very clear that we are opposed to the 4 RVs on a lot amendment. We would like to know who council has consulted with to even suggest this is acceptable. For decades, it has been well documented on the seriousness of environmental issues to this sensitive lake as it is classed as at capacity. We are all abiding by strict limitations that have been put in place by the provincial policy statement and the Renfrew County official plan. The mandate from consultations with provincial ministry experts are very clear. It states to make every effort to protect, improve, and restore the unique and fragile status of Lake Claire. Your bylaw undermines this mandate and is a regressive, divisive amendment. It is your responsibility to follow the professional environmental scientific evidence. Yours truly, Jean and Bruce Becker. Mayor Murphy and Councillor. This letter is to officially inform you of my very strong opposition to the upcoming proposed bylaw regarding recreational vehicles. Since the mayor stated in a recent email to me that all letters received would be read at the public meeting scheduled for February 16th, I shall be as brief as possible without restating all the local, county, and provincial policies which indicate how inappropriate this bylaw would be. I agree with most of the opposition reasoning stated in the LCPOA's letter to you dated January 15th, 2021 regarding the proposed RV bylaw amendment. However, I do not think that it is necessary to remove all the RVs, even though the lawyer's letter states that they are there illegally. As I stated in a public letter to the editor in the leader, I believe the appropriate thing to do is to have all the RVs that appear to be cottage replacements, hardscaped with decks, etc., abide by the same rules as cottages and homes. That is having the appropriate setback, requiring a septic system, and be subject to the same tax rate. In the November 25th edition of the Leader, Councillor Sisson was quoted as saying that he thought that RVs would be allowed if people were properly disposing of their waste. During a meeting of the previous council, which I attended, the mayor stated that she supported the setback. Surely the mayor and council understand the importance of this ribbon of life setback, which is clearly stated in the Renfrew County official plan. I wonder what or possibly who changed their minds. In conclusion, please be aware that I will be in complete support of using any and all measures to appeal this bylaw if it is passed. Please do the environmentally right thing. Regards, Jean Davies. To Mayor Murphy and Bon Cher Valley Council, we are in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2006-28 regarding RVs on Lake Claire. Thank you for your time and effort on this issue. We are the property owners of, roll numbers listed, Jeff and Christina Keys. To Mayor and Council members BV, this letter is to signify our interest in the proposed recreational vehicle bylaw concerning Lake Claire. This registration letter will qualify myself, my wife, and our adult daughter who share ownership to be part of a dispute mechanism if one is necessary after the February 16th meeting. It is our understanding that the new proposal will permit up to 4 RVs per lot with no septic and water hookups. Our family owns 6 lots on Lake Claire, with our cottage being on one of them. We purchased the shoreline allowance on all lots many years ago, so we own right up to the lake's edge. We pay tax on 5 of these lots as vacant lots. We understand that this new proposed bylaw would allow us to place up to 4 RVs on each of these lots right at the shoreline, no setback requirement. 1 portable toilet for each lot would take care of the septic requirements without a hookup. A central water line to each lot from the lake could provide water to the 4 RVs to avoid water lookup. Renting 24 RVs on our 6 lots through Airbnb or simply providing space for each person to bring their own would make us bigger than either Whispering Pines or Opiongo Mountain Lodge. Even better, it wouldn't even change our property taxes. What a deal. To be clear, we do not support the RV bylaw change and agree with the recommendations put forward by the LCPOA. In an era of heightened environmental awareness, it would seem prudent to have bylaws specific to the lakes deemed environmentally sensitive. Lake Claire is one example. We would appreciate your acknowledged receiving of this email to the 3 email addresses in the signature. We wait till February 6th meeting for clarification of the details. Thank you so much for creating the online opportunity to us to meet everyone on council for the first time. Midweek winter meetings have never been possible for us to attend before since we live 5 hours away. Please let us know if 3 presentations would be warranted, whether we should wait to see if the LCPOA recommends. If not, we will definitely speak at the appeal since we have now registered our interest. Ken Southward, Jennifer Southwood, Brianna Southward, Santoro. Respectfully, please consider the official plan that you have adopted. Specifically for Lake Clear, understand that at capacity is not a function of how much underdeveloped shoreline exists. Please read that definition. A few years ago, we encountered blue-green algae blooms in the lake. These are toxic and have killed dogs and children. Now, I understand the southeast shores saw the first major infestation of zebra mussels in 2020. The first time seen here since they were introduced to the province over 30 years ago. These are going to have a major impact on food sources for fish stock and now will provide a source for infesting other lakes with popular migration of boats and trailers. Any allowance of RV trailers or similar type dwellings will come with even more migratory boats. Don't fall for any, we just want to use our land arguments. Any landowners that want to get around the laws knew that what they were when they bought the land. They expect the township to give in. To this point, the township has apparently done nothing about curtailing new lot development over the last decade. There has been major shoreline modifications and near shore vegetation clearance performed without any repercussions. Again, hold fast with the 1 dwelling per lot and do not allow further severances of lots, especially those that have already seen severances. Do not allow any such bylaw amendment to proceed. Jim Marshall. Mayor Murphy and Bonshire Valley Council. I've been a taxpayer in Bonshire Valley for many years. I am in favor of the recently proposed amendment to the Township of Bonshire Valley Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2006-28 brought forth by the Corporation of the Township of Bonshire Valley regarding the use of recreational vehicles. I would like to thank you for your time and patience on this matter. Sincerely, Jason Miller.
Are you good, Sandra? Are you
Sorry?
okay? Are you okay?
Yep. Attention.
Okay, Sandra, before you continue, I think Annette and I have a solution. If you guys think that we can get through these letters before 6:30, I will throw this out to council. We have 2 ways that we can go. We can stop, we have to get into council. We do have curfews in our bylaws or in our procedural bylaw. So we can do one of 2 things. Either we can try and get through these before 6:30, or we will have to advertise a planning meeting for the middle of March and continue. So before Sandra continues, can I just get an opinion of council, please? Somebody want to unmute? Oh, there's Tim.
Yeah, quick question, just what's your thoughts and that on the possibility of making it through in that length of time? Because we don't want to get near the end and then still have to call another meeting. But if you think that we can push on, then let's get it done.
And that's not introductory now.
Oh, she did indicate that she thought we could get through them, but Dana and Sandra, what do you think?
It's possible. I have 27 left.
Dana, how many do you have left?
I think we have to lose sight of don't lose sight of the fact that we've got a council meeting to get in there also yet.
I know. Jack, what do you think?
Well, it's not only getting through the reading of the minutes. If you're going to be open for comments, then you're still gonna have to have another meeting, because it's not just a matter of reading. So it's, unless you're just planning on reading the letters, and we've had letters coming in till already today. So are we going to stop and say the letter we're not accepting any more letters? We have to make a decision somehow.
Okay, so
Because
that's
you're
what I
still
said
gonna
in my preamble, that if somebody didn't hear something in these letters, there are fors, there are against, there are reasons, there are a couple of compromises, there's some ideas. I'm open either way, guys. Annette, what is your feeling? Do you think we can get through them tonight or not? Jack's right. I mean, we're gonna have to have another meeting anyway.
Yes, we definitely are, because we're not going to have time for comments, and we're still going to have to be able to receive stuff, and council's not going to have time for their discussion. But I think that the problem becomes, it's a public planning meeting and you have to give notice then. So it would be nice to get through all of the written comments, which I think we could probably do by 6:30. And then it can come back to committee for council comments, and then we can publish another public meeting for those who, for everybody. I mean, everybody can come back to the second public meeting, and we'll make it 3 times as long, and then everyone will have time to comment and submit comments. So, and at that point, and we won't take up more time with council. But if we don't get through these written comments, we're almost to the point where we're going to have to we're going to re-advertise anyway. So are we going to re-advertise now 2 more times?
But I think it's also good for council to have all of the letters that we've received up until now read, so that we've got a comparator, so that we can go into committee and talk about some of the ideas. You know, I've heard all sorts of different things and made some copious notes, and I'm sure all of council has. So council, with your permission, I'd like to postpone our council meeting to 6:30. That will be the drop dead time. Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. All right, carry on, Sandra. Thank you.
Okay. Attention, Mayor Murphy and council. I'm a taxpayer in Bonnechere Valley Township and have been for 50 plus years. I support the recently proposed amendment to the Township Bonnechere Valley Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2006-28 brought forth by the Corporation of the Township of Bonnechere Valley regarding the use of recreational vehicles. The proposed amendment is fair and impartial to all residents in Bonnechere Valley Township, and as a result of your hard work and determination, we thank you for that, Alvin Miller. Mayor Murphy and Bonnechere Valley councillors, I oppose the proposed amendments to Bonnechere Valley Township Bylaw 2006-28. This amendment would allow up to 4 RVs to be parked on one property on Lake Clear, which has been designated an at-capacity lake by the provincial government. My concern relates primarily to the environmental impact on the lake, when the new bylaw could create a beyond capacity situation on Lake Clear by allowing up to 4 RVs on each Lake Clear property. It would be very difficult, if not impossible, to monitor the appropriate use of holding tanks and septic systems and the proper disposal of waste. Please consider the environmental implications of this proposed amendment on Lake Clear and vote against it. Thank you, Bill Murphy. Dana, Marg and I support the bylaw in regards to the RV. Council is spot on and shouldn't be shoved around by the Lake Clear anti-trailer group. Don't know if council was looking for taxpayer input or not, but we do support council. Take care, Brian Wetford. I am writing to you today regarding the upcoming decision re-RVs on Lake Clear. Our family has been on Lake Clear for 50 years. I start my rationale with the guiding principle that no individual or business has the right to degrade Lake Clear. May I ask you to reflect on that and what it means? With that in mind, allowing RVs on shores of Lake Clear that do not adhere to the current requirements of other dwellings, including greywater, sewage, setbacks from shoreline, etc., do not align with this guiding principle. Therefore, approving RVs on Lake Clear not meeting these requirements is counterproductive to the property taxpayers on the lake who follow current municipal, county, and provincial bylaws in fact and spirit. Allowing RVs would have negative and consequential environmental impacts when we are all working to improve the environment. On the property tax issue, it can be addressed now as well as at election time. I suspect the majority of taxpayers in the municipality would not be keen on paying additional amounts, as they are forced to subsidize the few individuals looking for preferential treatment on their Lake Clear lots and RVs. I implore you to look now and into the future to ensure nothing is done to degrade the sanctity of our pristine Lake Clear. To do otherwise, allowing RVs on the lake would be a step backwards for us now and generations to come. Thank you, respectfully, Brian Kemp. To BVT Council, I would like to state that I do not have any concerns with the proposed changes to bylaw 2006-28, Brian Pink. Good afternoon. I ask that you please acknowledge receipt of this email in opposition to the Boncher Valley Township proposed bylaw amendment related to RVs on Lake Clear. I went to the BVT website to confirm the date of the February 6th meeting and to determine how one registers to speak. However, there does not appear to be any information posted. The reasons for my opposition are: 1, Lake Clear is at capacity and development is virtually halted. 2, the use of RVs as cottages or cottage supplements is a form of development and simply a way for some to avoid having to abide by all the rules and regulations that others uphold. 3, if I had known that BVT was going to attempt to legitimize this workaround, I would not have added onto my cottage. In fact, I would have torn it down, bought 2 or 3 RVs, used them as cottages, and would have saved thousands in tax dollars and not have to follow those pesky rules. 4, why should a few people, although because of BVT inaction and numbers are growing, be exempt from building codes, zoning restrictions, bylaws, and other regulations because they just don't like the rules? 5, this proposal flies in the face of all environmental protections. 6, the current bylaws have not been enforced, nor are they ambiguous. Very disappointed with BVT Council, not sure who you represent. Brian Thurgood. Yes, I agree with the proposal to allow trailers on Lake Clear. Carol Carice Seguin and Mark Seguin. To Mayor Murphy and Boncher Valley Council, I am in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2006-28 regarding RV trailers in the township of Boncher Valley. Thank you for your diligence on this issue. Christy Cole. I am the owner of a cottage at 130 Birch Bay Trail on Lake Clear. I pay very high taxes for very little return. I feel I have a right to input into any future developments on Lake Clear. I am adamantly opposed to the suggested zoning bylaw that would permit 1 and up to and including 4 RVs on every lot on Lake Clear. Lake Clear has been designated a sensitive lake and is at capacity. Why would these RVs be permitted, especially since there are no regulations about septic tanks, setbacks, etc.? I'm amazed that in 2021, with all we know about how precious and fragile our environment, that this issue is even being considered. This is not 1921 when we were so unaware of environmental issues. Please do not pass this bylaw. Yours sincerely, Christine Ermuth. Yes, I agree with the proposal to allow trailers at Lake Clear. Cindy Kelly. I am writing to address Mayor Murphy and Council's proposed amendment to bylaw 2006-28 regarding the placement of RVs on Lake Clear. I am a property owner on Lake Clear and have personally been enjoying the lake for over 35 years, and my husband and his family for over 50 years. We live in London, Ontario, which is a good 7-hour drive from our cottage. When we had the option to purchase our family cottage, we had no hesitation. Lake Clear is so beautiful and we love sharing our cottage with our 4 children and their families. Everyone makes the long drive knowing that the lake is waiting for them at the end of the trip. The lake is pristine and so unlike any other lake we have been to in Southern Ontario. We've had many visitors over the years, and hands down, the most common comment is that it is called Lake Clear for a reason. Someday we have hopes to pass our cottage down to our children and hopefully they to theirs, and so on. I am concerned that if the above mentioned is passed, we won't have a lake that will be worth coming to, let alone passing on. I hope that you will make the right decision regarding the above amendment and keep Lake Clear, which is already environmentally sensitive and at capacity, from becoming like many of the other beautiful lakes which have already been destroyed. Sincerely, Colleen Thurrott Mills. To whom it may concern, the submission is in regards to the proposed new RV bylaw to amend bylaw 2006-28 of the Corporation of the Township of Boncher Valley. I do not support or agree with the amendment proposal. Lake Clear is at an at-capacity lake and must be protected. BVT Council must meet their obligation to uphold the policy direction provided by the provincial policy statement and the guiding principles contained in the Renfrew County Official Plan 2020, specifically to execute and enforce the existing bylaws that protect, improve, or restore vulnerable water, and to consider the impact when considering shoreline development. Darren Sullivan. Dear Mayor Murphy and Bonecher Valley Council, we have a family cottage at Lake Clear and we are writing to you to express our concern with the upcoming item on your agenda to allow multiple RVs on a single property. Lake Clear is at capacity and development is not allowed, including the creation of new lots within 30 meters of the shoreline. Multiple RVs on waterfront properties are a form of unregulated development, and we believe RVs should be subject to the same taxes and restrictions as cottages. We as cottage owners have always strived to actively respect all local, provincial bylaws, as well as obey our environmental responsibilities to Lake Clear and the lands surrounding it. In closing, we do not support the change to allow multiple RVs on a single property. We ask the council to protect the fragile and unique status of Lake Clear. Sincerely, Dave and Anne Louise Jensen. I would like to voice my support for the proposed bylaw allowing up to 4 RVs per lot in the township of Bonecher Valley. Dave Barkley. Attention Mayor Murphy and Bonecher Valley Council. My wife and I are very much in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw changes listed in Amendment 2006-28 and specifically regarding recreational vehicles. We are property owners on Dome Drive at Lake Clear. Derek Rosine, Lindsay, thank you very much for your effort on this issue. Regards, Derek Rosine. Dear Dana, it is my understanding that council is considering passing a bylaw that will allow up to 4 recreational vehicles on any property in the township. Surely this cannot be correct. If so, I think that is a big mistake. Such a bylaw effectively has the potential to convert all properties into mini campgrounds with the inherent problems of encroachment on the privacy of neighbors, of waste disposal, noise control, etc. Imagine a situation where some cottage owner decides to rent the cottage and all 4 RVs at the same time. Wouldn't the neighbors be impressed? Ridiculous, I know, but no more so than this proposed bylaw. I urge you to use some common sense before creating another problem that we don't really need. Sincerely, Don Hale.
Do you want me to take over?
Sure.
Mayor Murphy and Bonecher Valley Township councilors, I must have missed the protest meeting, thousands of BVT property owners demanding the right to have 4 RVs on every property. Surely that was a big event. Why didn't I hear about it? And why would Eganville miss out? So very few residents have chosen to ignore the existing bylaws that apply to RVs being used as residences. Friends and neighbors have objected. Rather than deal with the offenders, you have chosen first to intentionally misinterpret property owners' concerns and second to rewrite, indeed trash and existing bylaws. 4 RVs per property, a somehow Trumpian idea, trash the bylaws that protected good and order and good property management and replace them with chaos. Good planning. As you all know, the current bylaws were designed to protect people and their properties from irresponsible excess. Standards of construction, safety, and placement of main house and additional buildings are supposed to be sanctioned and controlled. Building permits and inspections are required. Standards of sanitation and safety are demanded, and taxes based on improvement to property values are levied, reasonable and orderly. But council has opted for a new direction. RVs for all of Bonecher Valley except for Eganville proper. You have chosen to ignore all property owners who are opposed, meaning mostly the rest of the valley, all science relevant to at-capacity lakes, and all manner of traditional formal logic in decision-making a clean sweep. And what of those lakes? Lake Clear in particular is home to hundreds of taxpayers who are stewards of a lake that is the jewel of the valley and a big tourist magnet. How is it appropriate for the council to discredit the concerns of the property owners? And further, what right has the council to disrespect the board of the LCPOA or the representations made by the board on our behalf? For very good reasons, Lake Clear has been deemed a sensitive lake since the mid-1980s, a long time. Still, you choose to ignore the scientific evidence of both the MOE and MNR. Lake Clear is an at-risk lake that needs constraint TLC. Disregarding this information is irresponsible. When does responsible become neglect? This is not about selfish property owners, nor is it about who is a great guy. It is not personal. It's about protecting a signature lake. Lakes are like lifeboats. Only when it is too late do you discover that you have let one too many people aboard. Erring on the side of caution is mandatory. At capacity means no more. No more people, no more sewage, no more garbage. Hence the current bylaws designed to control development and population increase at the lake so as to mitigate potentially harmful impact. Current bylaws are the lake's lifelines. A fleet of RVs is precisely the opposite. To review bylaw changes in the middle of the night for which there is very limited overall demand, a purposeful lack of full disclosure of pros and cons to the general population, intentional misrepresentation of the real discussion point, a Zoom meeting, which many residents may struggle with, and scheduled for the middle of winter in the depths of deadly viral epidemic. Is that really what we all voted for? Is this leadership? Does something in this strike any of you as just a tiny bit offside? And that is beside the fact, and the proposed changes will create more problems than they solve by far. And all of this for maybe half a dozen people. A plebiscite would be an appropriate way to discern the viability if you insist on trying to make this a whole BVT issue. This is not the stewardship you are elected and trusted to carry out, so please don't, just don't. The LCPOA has submitted recommendations to you. Make use of them. Take a breath, pause. Call it a rethink, call it a timeout, call it further investigation, whatever, but call it off. There is still time. Kindly consider this my formal objection to the bylaw changes and include me on the list of taxpayers who will further object. An RV free for all is not cool. Yours truly, Michael Lansbury. Attention Mayor Murphy and Township Bonecher Valley Council. I'm a taxpayer in Bonecher Valley Township and I have been for 50 plus years. I support the recently proposed amendment to Township of Bonecher Valley's comprehensive zoning bylaw number 2006-28 brought forth by the Corporation of Township of Bonecher Valley regarding the use of recreational vehicles. The proposed amendment is fair and impartial to all residents in Bonecher Valley Township and is a result of your hard work and determination. For that, we thank you sincerely, Keith Miller. We write to express our deep concern and strong opposition to the proposed bylaw that would permit up to 4 recreational vehicles to be located and occupied on a lot in the rural residential 4, limited service residential 1, and limited service residential 2 zones. Our property at 187 Mulberry Lane has been in the Lancaster family since 1957, owned first by Keith Lancaster and now by Philip and Leslie Lancaster. It is designated as an LSR2 zone. We have always abided by the bylaws of Sebastopol Township and Bonecher Valley Township. Our real estate taxes have always been paid. Our current annual real estate taxes are $5,398.28, which does not include garbage collection, water supply, sewage, or snow plowing along our 1 kilometer lane. The reasons for our opposition are as follows. A, legal considerations. Lake Clear has been designated under the Renfrew County official plan as an at-capacity lake with restricted development. Quoting from the official plan under Section 9 at-capacity lakes, Section 9.32D, page 121. No more than 1 single detached dwelling unit shall be permitted on a single vacant lot. All buildings and structures and associated private waste disposal systems shall have a minimum of setback of 30 meters from the high water mark of the lake, or in the case of existing lots where this setback cannot be met, the setback shall be as remote from the high water mark as the lot will permit to the satisfaction of the local council and the applicable approval authority for the private waste disposal system. All new permits issued by the applicable approval authority for private waste disposal systems which involve construction of tile beds will be conditional upon the use of a fill material known to have a good phosphorus retention capability. The property between the shoreline of the lake and the dwelling or private waste disposal system will be retained where possible in its natural state to serve as a buffer, which will assist in minimizing the land surface transport of nutrient-laden silt to the lake. The retention of the natural soil mantle and natural vegetation within 30 meters of the shoreline of the lake will be encouraged. Dredging and or filling activities involving the littoral zone shall be discouraged in order to avoid the resuspension of nutrients from the lake sediments and the destruction of fish habitat. And such dredging or filling shall require the prior approval of the local council and the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry and the Federal Department of Fisheries and Oceans. Legally, the bylaws of Bonecher Valley Township must conform to the county official plan, which says no more than 1 single detached dwelling shall be permitted on a single vacant lot. Lake Clear is the only at-capacity lake in Bonecher Valley, and council must take this into consideration when designing bylaws. Bylaws which may be permitted in some parts of the township are not allowed on an at-capacity lake. Financial considerations. Properties on Lake Clear provide a greater percentage of income to Bonecher Valley Township in the form of real estate taxes than is represented by the number of properties. The township benefits very well financially from properties on Lake Clear. To ensure the continuation of this source of income, Bonecher Valley Township should do everything in its power to protect the water quality of Lake Clear with strict guidelines for development and use of RVs. Only thus will the stream of revenue be protected. This proposed bylaw does the opposite. By allowing up to 4 RVs on a property, the increase of untreated dark water flowing into the lake risks diminishing the lake's water quality. Muskrat Lake in Cobden has experienced such problems. That is the last thing Bonecher Valley Township needs. No councillor wants to see a key source of its revenue decline caused by lower real estate values due to declining water quality. What a nightmare that would be for BVT. In addition, multiple RVs cluttering up any adjoining property reduce the value of the real estate. Personally, we would not wish that to happen to our property. Also, as stated in Leslie's attached letter, hardscaped RVs used in lieu of cottages do not pay their fair share of Bonecher Valley real estate taxes and are in fact receiving township services for free. Environmental considerations. Victor Castro has spoken to BBT Council on several occasions about Lake Clear being an at-capacity lake. In fact, it has been described as beyond at capacity. The Renfrew County Official Plan, Section 2.0 General Development Policy, subsection 2.2111I states, temporary uses such as the seasonal use of recreational vehicles on lots adjacent to inland lakes can negatively impact lake water quality and pose a risk to public health and safety. Local municipalities are encouraged to develop measures to address temporary uses and structures such as recreational vehicles on lots adjacent to lakes with the objective of protecting, improving, and restoring the quality of lake water and protecting human health. Some councillors have expressed concerns that the building of large houses on Lake Clear are the cause of the problem on Lake Clear, not RVs. They totally ignored the fact that such buildings have extensive new septic systems that have been approved by BVT's building inspector. When we extended our dwelling in 2002, we had to move our septic tank twice to satisfy the building inspector, Mark Schroeder, and install a new vertical and drainage block. When other older cottages have been updated or replaced with more modern homes, older septic systems and or draining pits have been replaced by much more efficient systems. As a result of these improvements, there has been less harmful runoff into Lake Clear. In the Eganville Leader on November 25th, 2020, on page A11, Councillor Patrick referred to boathouses as being environmentally problematic. Perhaps he is not aware that new boathouses are prohibited under the current zoning bylaw. Conclusions. It's obvious that Boncher Valley Township must design a bylaw regarding the use of RVs on Lake Clear that meets all legal requirements for an at-capacity lake that protects the real estate values of Lake Clear properties to ensure a continuing flow of income to the township and protects the water quality of Lake Clear. The proposed new bylaw clearly does not do this. Our suggestions that no hardscaped RVs used in lieu of dwelling shall be allowed on properties around Lake Clear under any circumstances. One RV should be allowed per property for use by the owners for travel, provided it can be driven away or towed, and that its holding tank can be emptied into a proper septic disposal system, such as the one provided by the Township of Eganville. We would like to thank the Township for providing these facilities for emptying such tanks. Between Victoria Day and Thanksgiving, up to 2 small recreational vehicles should be permitted for short-term stays of up to 2 weeks. Any stay of more than 3 days or a long weekend should require a permit from Boncher Valley Township, which should be available for purchase online prior to the visit and displayed on the vehicle. Each property on Lake Clear should be subject to an inspection of its septic system every 5 years. Historical notes. As Mayor Murphy is aware, Philip informed a previous council that the former bylaw did not deal with the RV situation. He had extensive experience with town planning before retiring to Lake Clear and recognized that there was a potentially serious problem. It is sad that it has taken so long for Boncher Valley Township to address this issue. Please note that Philip is a former president of the LCPOA and Leslie is a former secretary of LCPOA. Again, we repeat, we are strongly opposed to the proposed bylaw as it now stands. Sincerely, Philip and Leslie Lancaster. Leslie Lancaster, as a member of the Lake Clear Property Owners Association, I am in full agreement with the position expressed by the Land Use Committee of LCPOA regarding its environmental concerns about the increasing number of permanent hardscape recreational vehicles on Lake Clear and the potential for degradation of the water quality of this pristine at-capacity lake. However, I want to address the financial inequities of this issue. When Philip and I decided to retire to Lake Clear in 2002, we chose to add 2 additions to our cottage on Mulberry Lane to provide enough space for visiting family and friends. Having chosen the design for our additions, we were required to obtain building permits and have our septic system inspected. This inspection resulted in us having to move the septic field and build a new drainage field at considerable expense. When the additions were finished, because we had doubled the square footage of the house, our real estate taxes doubled. Since then, we have doubled again so that we are currently paying over $4,000 a year in real estate taxes to BVT. In recent years, some newer residents of Lake Clear have chosen to provide the additional space they want by installing recreational vehicles, which they have then permanently hardscaped into their properties. These are not just for weekend or short holiday use, but are the equivalent of a small cottage or cottage extension. These individuals did not have to obtain building permits and undergo the inspections as we did, and they are not paying any extra real estate taxes as we had to because the current BVT zoning bylaw does not cover recreational vehicles. By taking advantage of the current zoning bylaw loophole, these individuals are depriving Boncher Valley Township of much needed revenue. By not paying their fair share for the public services provided by the township through its tax revenue, they are freeloading on the system and forcing their fellow ratepayers to pay more. This situation is clearly unjust. Boncher Valley Township Council needs to remedy this deficiency immediately by amending the zoning bylaw to cover permanent hardscape recreational vehicles. All BVT ratepayers deserve to be treated equally. Sincerely, Leslie Lancaster. Dana, you want to take a turn?
To Mayor Murphy and Boncher Valley Township Council, we are in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2006-28 regarding RVs. Thank you for your time and effort on this issue. Martin and Rosemary Kitts. To Mayor Jennifer Murphy and Boncher Valley Township Council, we are I am in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2006-28 regarding RVs, trailers in the township of Bon Valley. Thank you for your time, understanding, and patience on this issue. Mary Ferguson. Dear Mary Murphy and councillors of Bon Valley Township, I am a resident of Bon Valley and would like to support the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2006-28 regarding the use of RVs. I agree that a landowner should have the right to make use of an RV or welcome company that may have one. It is a great way to accommodate friends and family in the event of a family reunion or special celebration. Thank you for the opportunity to provide input on this matter. MJ Sharesky. Dear Mayor Murphy and Bon Valley Township Councillors, I am a property owner on Lake Claire and I'm strongly opposed to allowing this amendment to pass, permitting up to 4 RVs to be located on properties throughout the township, which includes Lake Claire, is clearly wrong and irresponsible. Lake Claire is designated as an at-capacity lake and is actually beyond capacity. Because of this development is severely restricted. Recreational vehicles, RVs used as cottage replacements are clearly a form of unregulated development which must be limited or stopped. Lake Claire property owners are substantial contributes to the tax dollars in the township. Our concerns should be taken seriously. Sincerely, Mary Thompson. To Mayor Jennifer Murphy and Bon Valley Council, I am in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2006-28 regarding RVs, trailers in the township of Bon Valley. Thank you for your diligence on this issue, Mary Wilson. Yes, I agree with the proposal to allow trailers at Lake Claire, Wally County. Hi, Dana. Thank you for all your hard work. We do appreciate all that you do to look after us. You don't hear from us when everything is well and we are happy, so you don't hear from us often. We are writing as we are concerned over the application to amend zoning bylaw 2006-28, which we understand is being discussed at the February 16, 2021 council meeting of Bon Valley Township. Maybe we have missed some information, but from what we understand, it seems that the proposed bylaw to be passed on February 16, 2021 would allow up to 4 recreational vehicles to be planted on properties with no regard to the size of the lot, nor would the RV have to comply with location regulations as to how they would be located in relationship to other property owners, such as distance from the lot line, shoreline, etc., nor how human waste would be dealt with, as no permits are required. It is also our understanding that there are no specifications stated to allow enough parking spaces for the residents of the RVs. There are many types, capacities, etc. of RVs. We feel that there are too many open ends that, particularly due to no permits being required, would allow for informed and intelligent decisions to be made regarding the application to amend the zoning bylaw at this time. As property owners, we are year-round taxpayers and also support the local businesses and local charities when we are not under COVID restraints. The way we understand the amendment, we don't see how the councillors can even think of contemplating it being passed. We hope that at the meeting, the councillors will deal with the issue in the way that they would like to be treated if it was their property. And as in many other decisions they've made in the past, that common sense will prevail. Thank you for listening. Stay safe and healthy. Marion Hale. Madam Mayor, as a property owner for many years in Lake Claire and a registered voter in this township, I'm writing this email regarding the extremely important issue to be discussed at the February 16, 2021 meeting. It is clear to me that the recommendation by council in its proposed bylaw that up to 4 RVs be permitted on any privately owned Lake Claire property is absolutely ludicrous. As I understand it, RVs are not subject to the same stringent requirements that are cottages. Only 1 cottage dwelling is allowed on each lot, along with a sleeping cabin of specific size, limited size. Dwellings are subject to the current setback policies as outlined in the official plan in effect. They also must sit on at least 30 meters back from the shore. Why then should RVs be allowed to be placed wherever a property owner chooses in a close proximity to the shoreline? The closer these RVs are to the shoreline, the greater the negative impact their usage can have on water quality. It is well acknowledged that Lake Claire is designated in the Renfrew County official plan as and at capacity lake, and property owners should strictly adhere to these guidelines in order to protect the health of the lake as much as possible. This directly impacts the future viability of the lake and importantly too, the market value of the properties on it. Tax collection is based on market values as determined by MPAC. It is in the township's best interest to keep these property values from becoming depressed going forward. Any dwelling, permanent or seasonal, where people inhabit for use and use it for a certain period of time should be subject to the same legal requirements related to setback, connection to private well disposal system and buffer zone. In addition, the BV taxes levied should reflect the fair market value of each property, whether there is a cottage or RV used. Respectfully submitted, Liz Schultz. To whom it may concern, I'm writing to voice our concern about the proposed bylaw concerning RV accumulation on township properties, including on shoreline properties on Lake Clear. Our feeling is RVs should be controlled the same way that permanent dwellings are controlled with minimum 100-foot setback with a septic system built to code. You must realize by now that the lack of control or oversight has led to clusters of RVs being set up, some insane wooden cribs, rendering them permanent within the standard 100-meter-foot setback with gray and black water systems connected to the same kind of disposal system. All we want is fairness, i.e. equal constraints on development between constructed shoreline dwellings and RVs established on shoreline properties. The proposed bylaw does not address the issue at hand, and it would seem to offer less protection of sensitive water bodies like Lake Clear. Thank you, Mark and Annadette. I support the trailers at Lake Clear. Tiffany Schroeder. To council, I want to thank you for the time, patience, and thoroughness you've displayed regarding the trailers in and around Lake Clear. I'm sure you have from time to time been under great pressure to discriminate against trailer usage without any great evidence of any damage to the lake. I applaud your efforts in trying to clarify and create something that is fair to all parties. I believe the proposed clarification to the bylaw 2006-28 covers a fair and equitable position. Well done, Tom Dancy. I'm writing to address Mayor Murphy and Council's proposed amendment to bylaw 2006-28 regarding the placement of RVs on Lake Clear. I am a property owner on Lake Clear and have been enjoying the lake for over 50 years. As expected over these years, we have seen significant increase in traffic on the lake, which I believe is deemed environmentally sensitive and vulnerable. I can see the difference in the water quality with weeds and algae plumes that did not used to be present. I do not think it is a scientific leap to attribute these changes to at least partially to the increased use of the lake. If I understand it correctly, as a result of the lake, it is deemed environmentally sensitive and vulnerable. Development has been limited on lakeside properties. I accept and comply with all these tight restrictions, believing it is greater good of the lake. The Township of Boncher Valley's proposed amendment to bylaw 2006-28 regarding the placement of RVs on Lake Clear clearly disregards the environmental protection of Lake Clear and completely dismisses the efforts and sacrifices of those on the lake that comply with the regulations. It is understood that the details of this issue are complex and emotional and impact residents' lives and future plans on both sides of the issue. Discussions of the impact of additional RVs with respect to clearing the lakeshore, proximity to the lake, additional watercraft traffic, and disposal of influential can have been debated for years. I choose to boil it down to one question. Would Mayor Murphy and Council proposed amendment to bylaw 2006-28 regarding the placement of RVs on Lake Clear be good for the long-term environmental health of Lake Clear? The answer is a solid no. As a ratepayer and constituent of Boncher Valley, I strongly urge Mayor Murphy and Council to reject the proposed amendment to bylaw 2006-28 regarding the placement of RVs on Lake Clear for the long-term health of Lake Clear. Sincerely, Tom Mills. To whom it may concern, I write on behalf of myself and my siblings, Donna McPhail and Gary McPhail. We are co-owners of a cottage on Lake Clear, 25 Mulberry Lane. We're strongly opposed to the BVT Council proposal of a 4 RV maximum per lot. Any RV on Lake Clear cottage lot is not taxed as is a cottage, nor is it subject to restrictions of proximity to shoreline and regulations regarding septic systems, all reasons making any RV ownership unfair compared to cottage ownership. Most importantly, because of the liberties with shoreline access and lack of septic controls, RVs could have and likely do a negative effect on Lake Claire water quality. Lake Claire is recognized as having a unique and fragile status recognized by BVT bylaws, by Renfrew County, and the provincial policy statement. Lake Claire properties ought to be protected from this policy of a 4 RV maximum. And indeed, I recommend a policy of a much lower maximum. Yours truly, Mary Ann McNair. To whom it may concern, I own property on Lake Claire, and I must write this letter to strongly object to Mayor Murphy and the council's amendment to Bylaw 2006-28 regarding the placement of RVs on Lake Claire. My family, as well as myself, are members of the Lake Claire Property Owners Association and LCC, which keeps me up to date on all issues and opportunities on the lake. I have been following this debate for a few years now, and I am quite surprised at the decision. This is why I feel the sense of urgency to convey my views. I know that many property owners around the lake would share my perspective because they believe in a balance of conserving the fragile ecosystem while also considering the development of their properties. I must strongly object to this amendment because it violates the balance, moreover, could change the face of Lake Claire forever. There needs to be regulations for the placement and number of RVs on any given property, as well as management of influence discharge. This amendment is not only contradictory to the municipal bylaws and the official plan, but also to the provincial provincial scientific studies and reports that recognizes the need for strictly regulating development on Lake Claire. This regulation is necessary because of the very vulnerable ecosystem of the lake, which we all want to preserve. The correct solution is to have RV managed in the same manner as all other development, and that is with the need for municipal approvals when used as a form of semi-permanent or permanent accommodation. These laws are followed by property owners looking to add a building septic system. So it is common sense that those same laws apply to property owners wanting to add an RV. I do acknowledge that Lake Claire should be enjoyed and developed. However, if we create loopholes that directly violate this environment, we won't have a lake to develop in the future. This is truly a step in the wrong direction. It is the role of council and the mayor to lead in the effort of environmental protection, as well as supporting the interest of its constituents. You must realize that as your constituents and ratepayers, we placed a sacred trust in the council, and you as mayor take the appropriate measures to uphold the sanctity of Lake Claire. This means that everything to us, as it is our home and our legacy. I'm sincerely and respectfully asking you to think about my perspective and to reconsider your position on this amendment, to take on an RV management strategy that is consistent with all other Lake Claire development regulations. Thank you for your time, Nathan Junior.
Hello. Over, Dana.
Sure.
So first, please accept my thanks for taking time to consider the oversight in zoning bylaw 2006-28 regarding the use of recreational vehicles. I know that it is a difficult decision and one that will prove to be controversial no matter how you decide to proceed. I should also state that I speak for myself and do not represent any group or body of citizens. Furthermore, I am unaware of any group or authorized to speak for others on this topic, although I understand that some may claim to do so. Rather than belabor that point in this letter, I am available to elaborate on it should you desire me to. I agree with the intent and wording of the amendments to Township Bylaw 2006-28. Unregulated use of recreational vehicles could cause problems for adjoining property owners. The proposed changes appear to be fair and reasonable while still allowing the traditional uses of such vehicles. I would suggest that the topic of setbacks from water bodies, property lines, and buildings on adjacent properties be considered as part of this proposed change. A recreational vehicle, even if mobile and only used seasonally, can affect the value and enjoyment of a neighbor's property if placed too close to their dwelling, property line, or block their view of the lake. I feel it is better to regulate such placements in our bylaws rather than have to deal with complaints that may arise from inconsiderate recreational vehicle parking. Additionally, I suggest that the definition of recreational vehicles under section 2.156 include language to define the size of recreational vehicles in a way to clarify the distinction between them and units designed for residential occupation. Some units currently have marketed as recreational vehicles, and fitting your proposed definition can be quite large and even larger than many mobile homes. Some units, commonly called park models may require connections to pressurized water and sewage disposal systems. Recreational vehicles of this type do not have storage tanks for drinking or wastewater and sewage. They need to be treated differently than what we commonly think of as campers. I suggest our definition of recreational vehicles include the following: not greater than 12.2 meters in length, not greater than 2.6 meters wide, trailer tongue and axles permanently attached to vehicle frame, permanently equipped with brake clearance and running lights, approved for temporary accommodations and regular transport over highways, equipped with a holding tank for sewage and wastewater, not to be covered by roofs separate from one created at the time of manufacture, nor fixed to a location by an attached deck, porch, or other enclosure not manufactured as part of the vehicle or designed as any temporary, easily removable enclosure capable of being stored within the unit. And I understand the matter of the recreational vehicle use around Lake Clear has been alleged to cause detrimental effects to the lake, and as a result should be dealt with by special regulations. I disagree. While Lake Clear is classified by the Ministry of Environment as at capacity, it should be understood that what that term actually means. Lake trout are quite sensitive to changes in a relatively narrow set of environmental limits, such as phosphorus levels, oxygen levels, temperature, and acidity. In southern Ontario, all natural lake trout lakes are classified as at capacity. Even lake trout lakes with zero development around them are classified as at capacity. While development around any lake classified as at capacity must be restricted according to provincial policy, much of the obligation to define those restrictions is the duty of the municipality. Since every restriction will affect the value and enjoyment of some of the most highly taxed property in the township, it is important that we enact restrictions that will actually accomplish the goal of preserving or enhancing the health of the lake. Towards that goal, I asked Victor Castro of the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change a series of questions about Lake Clear and the need for special regulations for recreational vehicles. Specifically, I asked him the following two questions. If every RV on Lake Clear within 300 meters of the lake were to be removed, would it make any measurable change in the phosphorus and dissolved oxygen levels? Mr. Castro said it is not likely that it would. What efforts could we take to return Lake Clear to a lake with capacity? Mr. Castro, it may not be possible. I am willing to swear an oath that the above is a correct and accurate recollection of my questions and Mr. Castro's answers. There are many good reasons why our zoning bylaw and other regulations should lay out what is and not allowed on private property. How we use the land we own affects adjoining properties and the general environment. We are only temporary custodians of our land, and our ownership does not give us absolute rights. Most people accept the notion that where we can build structures and alter the landscape has an impact outside our property lines and should be subject to reasonable restrictions. The recreational vehicle of today is far different from the tin cans on wheels of 50 years ago. It is important that our bylaw be clear in what we define as a recreational vehicle and allow such vehicles to be used in a way that is fair, reasonable, and not cause adverse effects on neighboring properties in the environment. Sincerely, Bob Peltzer. The recent submission by the LCPOA is a classic case of reading law through the filter of your personal point of view. In their submission, they cite Provincial Policy Statement 2020, Renfrew County Official Plan, the Municipal Act, the Planning Act. In each case, they interpret the law to fit their restrictive point of view instead of reading the law in a more neutral way. I will try to provide a less restrictive interpretation. The Provincial Policy Statement of 2020 sets out policies for the wise use and management of resources, and the section the LCPOA cites deals with water resources. This is well and good, but they fail to make the case that the use of recreational vehicles around lakes is inherently harmful to that resource. Across the province, recreational vehicles are used in proximity to lakes, and one might argue that proximity to water is a preferred way to use them. The next cite the Renfrew County Official Plan. They draw your attention to Section 11I that deals with the temporary use of recreational vehicles adjacent to inland lakes. This section says that municipalities are encouraged, not required, to develop measures to address temporary uses such as recreational vehicles. It does not say what measures you must use, and the zoning bylaw amendment you are considering is an attempt to develop measures, just not as stringently as the LCPOA would like to see. I would add that including some setback requirements, as well as a requirement to deal with wastewater, would be reasonable measures to include in such an amendment. They also cite the sensitive lake provisions of the official plan, which call for some pretty strong restrictions on development within 300 meters of a sensitive lake. However, there is nothing to show that the temporary parking of a recreational vehicle is development. If it were, a building permit would be needed. Indeed, if one were to take a strict reading of this section, one would no longer issue building permits for anything other than major repairs around a sensitive lake. You might wonder how well that would go over with the LCPOA membership. Next cited is the definition of a trailer under the Municipal Act. This is fine, but not exactly a very refined definition of a recreational vehicle, which can include vehicles themselves, such as motorhomes. It also does not distinguish between camping trailers and mobile homes. For the purpose of a zoning bylaw, it is a weak definition. At last, they seem to hang their case on the Planning Act, in particular Part 5, which gives municipalities the power to pass zoning bylaws. Under subsection 4, they point out that trailers are deemed to be buildings or structures under this section. This is true, they are, and a municipality has the power to include them within their zoning regulations. However, it does not require them to do so. They follow this up by going back to the provincial policy statement and cite the section that defines development as development means the creation of a new lot, a change in land use, or the construction of building or structures requiring approval under the Planning Act. Again, this is true, but they miss the part that states requiring approval under the Planning Act. There is nothing in the Planning Act that requires a municipality to approve the parking of a trailer. They do have the power. They have the power to do so under the Act, but are not required to do so. They go on to cite the definition of development under our zoning bylaw, but that is a moot point. The township still retains the power to out the rules for what sort of development requires prior permission and approval. To sum up, your decision on how to regulate the use of recreational vehicles within our township is clearly something you are allowed to do. How you go about it is up to you. You can take the LCPOA's very strict reading of the law and forbid their use in particular zones, or you can do nothing. Both appear to be allowed under the provincial laws. I would suggest that doing nothing is not the best choice and that some sort of reasonable use regulations are appropriate and likely supported by a majority of the township's citizens. If you need further advice, I suggest you seek it from an independent legal source and not one supplied by an organization promoting a particular course of action. Lawyers are paid to advise in the best interests of their client, and many different answers are possible depending upon who is paying the bill. Sincerely, Bob Peltzer. Dear Mayor Murphy and councillors of Boncher Valley Township, I am sending this letter to support the proposed bylaw amendment 2006-28. I have been a BVT taxpayer for many years and appreciate the chance to give input on this issue. I don't have an issue with the use of RVs in Boncher Valley. The people of the township should have the right to make use of a recreational vehicle on the property they pay taxes on and allow visitors to park their RV while visiting. Thank you, Patrick Aubrey. Many years ago, I was fortunate to have created a television series that went on to broadcast by many of the world's premier broadcasters in almost 180 countries. It was called The Raccoons. The show garnered impressive ratings and won many international awards, including the Federal Canadian Environment Minister's Communications Award for Environmental Awareness. The Raccoons was born out of the experiences I enjoyed growing up at a lake in the Ottawa Valley. Many of the ecological issues we explored through the stories were informed by the pure and natural environment by which I had the good fortune to be surrounded. Today, I am constantly reminded by many young people who are now having families of their own that their first awareness of the importance of protecting our fragile natural environment came from the Raccoons television series. I am humbled that even now it is a common theme raised by its many fans online. The reaction exceeded our expectations, but in time it proved to be a part of an unstoppable social trend, a lifelong commitment to protecting the environment. Ironically, the same lake that figures so prominently in the Raccoon series is Lake Clear, a very real lake in Boncher Valley Township, Ontario, Canada, which is now at a critical juncture. The lake is a true gem and hence has been a magnet for cottagers, campers, anglers, hunters, boaters, hikers, kayakers, painters, naturalists, snowshoers, etc., who come from all over to enjoy its pristine but fragile nature. The Council of the Township of Boncher Valley has just proposed a bizarre bylaw that will permit 4 recreational vehicles for every single lot on Lake Clear. Further, you have decided to not burden the RVs with any of the environmental and fiduciary obligations to which every other cottager or homeowner on the lake is subject. These include minimum setbacks from the shoreline, septic regulations, shoreline protection, dwelling taxes, etc. As you know, Lake Clear, as beautiful as it is already designated as an at-capacity rare trout lake by the Ontario Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks and by Renfrew County, the jurisdiction in which Boncher Valley Township resides. The MECP has conducted in-depth studies to arrive at this designation and has made presentations to BVT's council in an effort to educate its members and ratepayers as to the importance of this official classification. Incredibly, council members of BVT have turned a blind eye to the study's reports and to the official plan designation. I am mystified as to the reasoning. We are all too aware of cases where ill-conceived decisions are made that irreparably affect future generations. If Lake Clear is opened up to hundreds or even thousands of trailers under this thoughtless bylaw, the at-capacity lake will devolve into an environmental catastrophe. If the water quality and fishery are negatively impacted, what will happen to ecotourism in this township? Will the visitors referenced above still be attracted to the lake surrounded by hundreds of recreational vehicles? And if property values decrease along with the attraction the lake represents, where will future mayors and council members find the revenue shortfall? In light of these critical consequences, I object to the proposed bylaw. This could happen on any lake. The fact that it is happening on the very lake that inspired the show that gave rise to a generation's environmental awareness is sad, embarrassing precedent, and a blatant disregard for our natural resource heritage. It's quite odd that in this day of enlightened attitudes towards the importance of environmental protection, we still have government bodies pushing the exact opposite views. I hope that you will choose to be on the right side of history and protect the valuable resources that we have entrusted to your care. Thank you, Kevin Gillis. To Boncher Valley Township Council, we have heard there is some discussions in regards to RVs in the township. With regards to this situation, we wanted to send a message that we are in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment for 2006-28 regarding RVs. Thank you for your time and effort on this issue, Sarah and Dan Paquette. I apologize. Firstly, I apologize for this handwritten letter as my printer is not functioning and in today's environment, not fixable. A taxpayer on Lake Clear, I object to any bylaw that would permit RVs to be used as accommodation on any lot on Lake Clear. The idea that up to 4 RVs would be allowed on any lot except in Eganville itself makes absolutely no sense at all from any perspective. Despite what some councillors want to discuss, such as capacity and structure, the lake is a sensitive one and has been defined as such. We already have trailer parks designed as such, and to those persons who wish to go to the lake in RVs, that's where I suggest is where they park their vehicles. Council has devoted some time in determining the amounts money spent on property development in the lake. With that in respect is irrelevant. The fact that someone puts an addition on a cottage or on an existing lot does not tell you anything. What will give you some insight is how many undeveloped lots have been now developed with new cottages and new taxpayers. New cottages means new people, new taxpayers, and potentially new sources of pollution. Empty lots and empty buildings do not contribute pollution to an already sensitive lake. People do. There is a reason that the current bylaw does not allow any further severances on new lots, and that is that the lake is at capacity for new lots because new lots near more people, and as stated above, that means more people contribute to or by exacerbating an already existing problem within the lake. It is its sensitivity. Council exists to carry out the wishes and exact bylaws for the benefit of its residents. As such, I am quite confident that no one on Lake Clear would endorse the idea of permitting 4 RVs on any lot. Certainly, any clear-thinking person, in my view, the Eganville leader carried a live discussion at council about what structure was supposed to near. It's a building or an object constructed of several parts. Read RV here. It will be easy for some members of council to suggest that those of us who oppose are guilty of the NIMBY attitude, not in my backyard. For myself, I plead guilty. I pay a lot of tax dollars for the privilege of having the peacefulness, tranquility, beauty next to this beautiful lake. Owning a cottage is an ever increasing expense with taxes, repairs, and all other insurance and all other unforeseen costs. Putting the key in the ignition and driving away in the RV, having spent the weekend enjoying, I pay a lot of tax, and as a property owner, this is something I wish to see. Council should not forget the spirit of the bylaw prohibiting further lot development is there for a purpose to allow RVs is to circumvent the purpose of its own bylaw in the first place. It is one thing to stare at an RV on your own property, is quite another to use it year after year as adjacent to your cottage for your extended family and friends. When you try to picture 4 RVs on each lot alongside any of the roads we have on Lake Clear, it would be, in my view, not a very pretty sight. The lake is at capacity now in terms of people or cottages. If you wish, so why encourage or allow more non-contributing tax dollar people to simply park and enjoy? While we all want our families to enjoy what we have on the lake, it came at a cost to us, and extremes to existing cottages can raise your taxes. It will nevertheless provides space for the extended family. Basically, what the taxpayer on Lake Clear gets for the ever increasing tax dollar is fire prevention, and that can be iffy depending on your location. All that to say is now is the time to seriously discuss with the residents on the lake, seasonal or otherwise, what do we want? I know I don't want each and every lot on Lake Clear to be a miniature trailer park, mobile or otherwise. Finally, if council is determined to permit this absurdity of 4 RVs per lot, there devise some sort of new tax base for the rest of us and a new one for the RV owners. Respectfully yours, Wayne Spooner. P.S. We had fire protection when we were in the township of Sebastopol at a considerably less cost. Mayor Murphy and Boncher Valley councillors, the submission by the Lake Clear Property Owners Association is an objection to the proposed bylaw amendment concerning the use of recreational vehicles on certain zoned lands around Lake Clear, the only at-capacity lake within Boncher Valley Township. The zones in question cover all except Crown Lound lakefront properties around Lake Clear. As council is well aware, Lake Clear is designated an at-capacity lake by MNRF and MECP where development is highly restricted within 300 meters of the shoreline. Both the provincial policy statements and the approved Renfrew County official plan deal with the policies and guiding principles that provide protection for sensitive lakes. As evidenced by the proposed bylaw amendment, it is clear that council has not given any consideration to these policy statements and guiding principles. In the proposed bylaw amendment, council has changed the definition of recreational vehicle from a vehicle structure to a vehicle. This is in direct contravention to the Ontario Planning Act regarding development. The Renfrew County official plan, the provincial policy statement, and Boncher Valley Township's own comprehensive zoning bylaw 2006-28 are clear in their definition of development. These policy statements, guiding principles, and definitions solidify the LCPOA's position that placement of recreational vehicles on Lake Clear waterfront properties is prohibited. The LCPOA position demonstrates the proposed bylaw amendment contravenes the Ontario Planning Act, the provincial policy statement, the Renfrew County official plan, and Boncher Valley's own zoning bylaws. The bylaw amendment covering the entire township must, at a minimum, be further amended to respect the governing laws and policies to exclude Lake Clear entirely. The placement of the existing recreational vehicles on Lake Clear waterfront properties is unlawful, and therefore they cannot be grandfathered. Boncher Valley Township Council must execute the necessary steps to immediately remove the existing offending RVs on waterfront property. Signed by Judy Bates, President of LCPOA, and John Taker, Environmental Director of LCPOA, and they've included appendices for protections provided at capacity lakes from the provincial policy statements, and they've included stuff from the Renfrew County official plans and also things from our own bylaw. I didn't go through the appendices on the other ones where they talked about French River and things like that because I was just reading the written comments, but they are here if people want to read them. And the other thing that I do want to add is an email that I did receive as well from the LCPOA that says the LCPOA recently conducted a secure online petition related to the proposed RV bylaw. LCPOA members, property owners on Lake Clear, and others, friends, family, guests, renters, campers who spend time on Lake Clear were asked to please click the I agree button to indicate your agreement with the LCPOA's position opposing the Boncher Valley Township Council's proposed bylaw amendment permitting up to 4 RVs to be located on properties throughout the township. This includes Lake Clear, the only at-capacity lake in the township. The secure online survey opened on January 27th, 2021 and closed on February 6th, 2021, resulting in 708 responses opposing the proposed bylaw, representing 178 Lake Clear properties and at least 252 BVT voters. Hello, Leanne. Oh, this was forwarded to us. It says, I do not agree with your petition as an LCPOA member. I own an RV, and yes, I do pay property taxes. As many have a misunderstanding, RV owners don't pay taxes. The BV Council does a fantastic job representing everyone. The survey does not have a selection for members who disagree. Joe Felleber. Good afternoon, Annette. I'm a resident of Boncher Valley. I live at 60 Bradley Lane, and I'm very concerned about the amount of RVs permitted on individual properties. I agree that if RVs are permitted up to 4 on personal properties, they should be contributing to taxes. I live on Constant Lake and can certainly attest to the fact of higher traffic volumes on Feebig Road. Also, I have a concern about where Blackwater and Greywater is being dumped. Can you please send me the Zoom link and document my concern? Respectfully, Alice Brennan. And I think I'll turn it over to Sandra now and take a break.
My name is Jack Robert Rosine. Please consider this to be 6 letters supporting the proposed bylaw amendment. I am a joint tenant with my son of 4 parcels in Grattan Township. He lists the roll numbers. I am a cottage owner on Lake Clear. He lists his roll number. I am 1/4 owner of a vacant cottage on Lake Clear. This totals 6 properties. I am also a member of the Lake Clear Property Owners Association. I support this bylaw because it has the potential to benefit many landowners throughout the township, much in the way that bylaws allow granny suites to do in other municipalities. Helpful bylaws such as this are to be encouraged. I offer 2 remedial suggestions. These are not objections. Firstly, if this is not already the case, the bylaws should provide that the location at any time of any RV, whether stationary or movable, on any parcel should be such that it complies with the side yard and front yard setbacks for permanent structures on that parcel. Secondly, I suggest that there should be some parameters related to lot size and the number of RVs permitted on them. Something along the lines of a maximum of 4 RVs per parcel, but not more than 1 per acre or undersized pre-existing lot of record, or a maximum of 4 RVs per parcel, but not more than 1 for every, say, 100 feet of frontage. These are arbitrary figures used only to explain the example. Thank you, Jack Robert Rosie. Mayor and Council, we are writing to you today to provide our unreserved opposition to the proposed amendment to bylaw 2006-28, Corporation of Township of Bon Valley, to allow for up to 4 RVs per property, i.e. lot in the rural RU, residential 4 R4, limited service residential 1, and limited service residential 2 zones. The rationale for our opposition is reflected in the submission provided to Council by the Lake Clear Property Owners Association dated January 15th, 2021. We watched the January 20th council meeting and were dismayed to hear one of the councillors comparing the extent of development around the lake over the last 10 years with the proposal to allow up to 4 RVs per property. The implication being that the number of RVs on a given lot is not as significant as the development cited above. In good faith, we assumed that the township had diligently applied its own bylaw, example, comprehensive zoning bylaw number 2006-28, when considering proposals for work permits developments put forward by property owners. Our concern is not with work permitted. The issue is the allowance of up to 4 RVs per property. This will undoubtedly add additional pressures to the lake. In closing, we are of the view that this proposed bylaw and amendment perverts the spirit and intent of not only the current version of bylaw 06-28, but also the Renfrew County official plan. At a minimum, council could take steps to exclude Lake Clear as an at-capacity lake from the proposed amendment, thereby contributing to the protection of Lake Clear for future generations. Meredith Ping Green, Lori Green, George Reimer. Good afternoon. This is being sent to voice my strict opposition to RV bylaw amendment that will affect Lake Clear properties during the February 16th council meeting. I cannot be present, but I'm sending this email to ensure my voice and views are heard and counted. If you or anyone has further questions, please let me know. Donna Hopback. Hi, Dana. I just read a response by Herb Weckworth concerning the RV issue at Lake Clear. I fully support the effort of council concerning the changes and appreciate their work. Respectfully yours, Earl and Linda Bridges. To Mayor Murphy and BV Council, we are in agreement with the proposed zoning amendment regarding RVs, Eddie and Donna Heidemann. To Mayor Murphy and BV Council, I am in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2006-28 regarding RVs. Thank you, Frank O'Brien. As a property owner on Lake Clear, I agree with the proposed bylaw regarding RVs on Lake Clear, as long as everyone follows the rules and guidelines of distance from the lake and septic and holding tank laws. I would like to thank Mayor Murphy and Council for the efforts and hard work they have put into this. I do not agree with the Lake Clear Property Owners Association. Sincerely, Gerald and Darlene Swat. We are annual visitors for over 15 years to relatives who own 2 properties on Lake Clear. This is a special and beautiful place, demanding that we in this life do what we can and should to pass the extraordinary site on to those generations who come after us. Any allowance of new activity allowed should concern itself with possible impact on this fragile environment. Will such activity cause any harm? Is such harm offset by environmental benefit? The proposal to allow 4 trailers on a lot does not meet this standard, particularly concerning human and pet waste disposal, unless the township is willing to expend considerable amount of money to hire personnel to inspect such property several times each season. No more than 1 trailer per lot up to the first acre and only 1 per acre beyond that. Heather and Frank Hines. To BVT Council, I do not have any concerns with the proposed change to bylaw 2006-28. Herb Weckworth. Dear Mayor and Council, I am a property owner on Lake Clear and I object to the proposed amendment bylaw 2006-28 regarding the placement of RVs on Lake Clear. As you know, the MNRF and MECP has deemed Lake Clear as being at capacity. To prevail, we must understand the multiple stressors and how they impact Lake Clear, and acting now is how we can move forward and avoid costly escape clauses, therefore resulting in a win-win situation for all of us. Let's put Lake Clear first. Respectfully, Jackie Bourne. Mayor Murphy and BV Council, I'm a taxpayer of Bonnechere Valley and I'm a frequent user of Lake Clear. My great-grandparents were one of the first people to build on the lake many years ago, and since then, several generations of my family have continued to be on the lake. It is a special place to me and my family. It is disheartening that a few people can say they represent the voice of all property owners on Lake Clear. The LCPOA continually causes issues around the lake that should be dealt with by our elected council and mayor. With that being said, I believe the proposed bylaw regarding RVs on Lake Clear is fair and reasonable, and I am in favor. Thank you, Jason Swant. To Bonnechere Valley Council. I have been connected with Lake Clear all my life. I was born on the Opiongo Road 85 years ago and have been a cottage owner at the lake for almost 45 years. I would like to convey my family's concerns about the RV and trailer bylaws being proposed. Over the years, we have invested considerable time and money in improving and maintaining our property to a high standard. Our taxes and taxes of other homes and cottages on the lake are exceptionally high, whereas taxes on lots with trailers are very low, but they enjoy the same privileges and amenities. I believe the proposed bylaw will have a detrimental impact on environmental standards, property values, and on maintaining a high aesthetic on the lake. Many other municipalities have enacted regulatory bylaws on this issue, and council should do their due diligence in researching the options available to alleviate the associated issues trailers can present. Some of the issues that have been noted in my research include the following. Municipalities can't tax trailers as if they are a dwelling. However, the costs of providing services to trailers can be similar to single detached dwellings, such as snowplowing, civic addressing, road maintenance, and the provision of emergency services. On Lake Clear, cottage owners end up subsidizing those with trailers because most do not contribute to road maintenance costs. It can be difficult to regulate the potential for negative impacts on the natural environment associated with trailers, such as the impacts from improperly or inappropriately discharged raw sewage from the recreational trailers. This can result in a negative impact on the lake via the sewage system disposal system and even the removal of shoreline vegetation. There can be additional concerns related to excessive noise, as well as pollution from trailers and campers. Noise is more often confined within cottages, but outside gatherings while camping has a potential for significant additional noise impacts on neighboring land users. Complaints in other jurisdictions have also related to garbage disposal and fire hazards and could necessitate increased demands for enforcement. Bylaws should ensure that they uphold the character of the surrounding area. Permitting trailers is not compatible with waterfront surroundings, and these structures are not regulated under the Ontario Building Code. They can be built substandard and are meant to be used sporadically and can even degrade rapidly without regular maintenance and upkeep. Other municipalities have prohibited the use of RVs and trailers on vacant waterfront lots unless the owner can demonstrate it is a temporary measure until they are able to build. Different provisions for regulating their use on non-waterfront properties could be enacted, but waterfront properties should be restricted to permanent dwellings. Other municipalities have also enacted RV trailer licensing bylaw to ensure proper location and setback considerations as well as acceptable sewage disposal. As more and more people have purchased trailers during the pandemic, this seems to be a more fair approach for cottage owners to ensure the RV trailer owners pay their fair share to support municipal infrastructure and services. We are members of the Lake Claire Property Owners Association and fully support the recommendations their representatives are bringing forward to council on this issue. Any bylaw enacted needs to take into consideration the various perspectives of environment, aesthetics, value of property, and also fairness in taxation. I trust that council will give these recommendations due consideration and protect the rights of all its taxpayers. Respectfully submitted, James Mulroy and family. Mayor Murphy and councillors, I'm writing as a township property owner to register my objection to the proposed bylaw regarding recreational vehicles in Boncher Valley Township, especially as it affects Lake Claire. I understand that submitting this letter entitles me to participate in any future dispute following the February 16th meeting. Ontario is blessed with a globally rare system of inland fresh lakes which deserve protection. Even more rare are lakes that can support lake trout. Lake Claire in our township has one of those rare designations and therefore must be protected. You all know that it has been designated by the MNRF as beyond at capacity. For that reason alone, it must be considered as an exception to this proposed bylaw. Protecting freshwater lakes should be an important consideration for anyone who lives in this province. The bylaw you are considering not only violates both the provincial policy statement and the Renfrew County official plan, but also disrespects the environment we all share. In addition, it contravenes your own zoning bylaws. Unfortunately, the municipal government is the only level of government with the authority to pass enforceable bylaws. That authority brings with it tremendous responsibility. It is beyond understanding that given the amount of scientific evidence that has been presented to you over the last 5 years, this council chooses to ignore it and pass a bylaw that would negatively affect the health of an already sensitive lake. While I am not against RVs, I believe that they should be treated and taxed as are all other residences on Lake Claire. They should be subject to the same regulations and inspections as other residences because that is how they are being used. You will not allow 4 seasonal cottages per lot, so why allow 4 RVs being used as seasonal residences? I respectfully ask that this council reconsider applying this bylaw to Lake Claire and recognize the special status that a sensitive at-capacity lake deserves. Consideration for the environment should be uppermost in everyone's mind these days. I would like my opposition to this bylaw noted and would like to be included in the February 7th Zoom meeting. Respectfully submitted, Janet Smith. To whom it may concern, I would like to express my opposition to the proposed Boncher Valley Township RV bylaw amendment to be voted on at the council meeting February 16th, especially as it pertains to lakefront lots and specifically Lake Claire. This proposed bylaw amendment contravenes the Ontario provincial policies, Renfrew County plans, and original BVT bylaws, and therefore demonstrates a lack of understanding to the sensitive nature of the Lake Claire environment and lake front lots in general. This is in spite of many representations to the BVT from a number of credible organizations, including the Lake Claire Property Owners Association, legal firms, and provincial ministries. These organizations have provided very clear and concise information on the sensitive nature of the lake and the environmental ramifications of allowing RVs on lakefront lots without adhering to the same environmental guidelines imposed on permanent dwellings. While this bylaw amendment may be suitable for acreage, it certainly is not appropriate for lakefront lots, and especially Lake Claire, which has been proven to be at capacity. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Gerard Deleu. Dana, I say trailers should stay on Lake Claire. Thanks. Jason Phillip.
Want me to take over now?
Sure.
Okay, I have owned a cottage on Lake Claire for 37 years and am a BVT voter and taxpayer. I'm incredulous that the BVT Council is seriously suggesting that this proposed bylaw is appropriate and in the best interest of our at capacity lake. The regressive bylaw amendment is contrary to BVT bylaws official plan provincial policy statements, and the opinions of experts from both the MECP and MNRF. Lake Clear is a destination location for many anglers, ice fishing enthusiasts, campers, renters, boaters, cottage owners, and permanent homeowners. The BVT Council's refusal to tackle a solution for RVs being used as cottages often results in multiple residences on one lot is now in year 6. The BVT Council is suggesting that up to 4 RVs should be permitted on all lots on Lake Clear and many properties throughout the entire township without requiring permits, inspections, septic systems, adherence to building codes. Property owners will be allowed to place RVs anywhere on their lot, ignoring setback requirements, and the RV owners will not be assessed additional property taxes. The only time they will be required to follow the same rules as others is if they opt to install a septic system or water supply. Obviously, this is disincentive. If RVs are to be permitted as cottage replacements, then they should be subject to the same rules and regulations as applicable to other residences. And yes, the RVs are being used as homes or cottages. If it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, then it's probably a duck. The proposed amendments include redefining RVs as vehicles rather than structures, providing a loophole under the guise of suggesting that RVs are only being used occasionally and moved on and off the property. In reality, the majority are not moved. Many cottage owners only use their dwelling from May to October, yet are taxed on a year-round basis and are subject to building and zoning codes. While most RVs are used for the same time period, they are certainly being treated differently. Many cottage and homeowners have expanded their dwellings and erected garages or added sleep cabins and are subject to stringent rules, including those related to septic capacity. Of note is that none of these supplemental structures may have kitchens or bathrooms. In comparison, the BVT Council is proposing that RV owners are special and should be exempt from following environmental protection standards, developing restrictions or the building code, while dwelling additions or sleep cabins provide additional sleeping space for occasional guests. The placement of RVs equipped with full kitchens and bathrooms are effectively allowing the property density to increase up to 16 people. 4 people using 4 RVs and 8 personal vehicles, 2 vehicles for each of 4 RVs. Consider 300 lots on Lake Clear at 16 people, 4,800 additional people. It is not just the people and vehicles. It will mean more boats, docks, shoreline destruction, fire pits, and use of the lake water for bathing, cleaning, drinking, and toilets. This increase in density will result in an increase in phosphorus loading, a serious threat to Lake Clear. I'm not sure how one can suggest that this is not development. Who or what are the drivers of this absurdity? Are you trying to appease the existing owners of RVs to compensate for the erroneous interpretation and lack of enforcement of your own bylaws over the past many years? Are you too fearful of telling those RV owners that they must remove their RVs? This is an unresolved situation that you and your predecessors have allowed to escalate. Can you imagine our neighbor being permitted to have an additional 4 entire families occupy 4 more structures on a lot next to you? Will your view be locked? Will the activity and noise increase? Will the shoreline vegetation and trees be removed to accommodate RVs? We know that in some cases this has already happened. Will the increased vehicle traffic on public roads result in others paying more for insurance and upkeep, while RV compounds are treated as vacant lots or as a lot with only one dwelling? They are added to municipal service demands while not having to contribute to the costs. They are contributing to the addition of phosphates to the at-capacity lake. The LCPOA raised the problem of RVs being used as dwellings over 5 years ago. The BVT Council has delayed action and only recently decided to finally address the issue. Unfortunately, there is no plan, no representative committee to advise council, and no comprehensive strategy. Numerous reports, presentations, and correspondence from the LCPOA and others seemingly have made no impact. I question whether the decision makers have read, comprehend, or even interested in any of the information provided over the last 5 years. The LCPOA asked members to submit letters to the BVT Council in support or in opposition of the proposed bylaw, and recently conducted an online secure petition intended to measure the level of opposition. The purpose was to deal in fact, not innuendo, gossip, rumor, or alternative facts. The secure online petition opened on January 27, 2021 and closed on February 6, 2021, resulting in 708 responses opposing the proposed bylaw, representing 178 Lake Clear properties and at least 252 BVT voters. The BVT Council has scheduled a 2-hour Zoom meeting on February 16, 2021 from 3:30 to 5:30 to address the issue. The plan is or was to read 130 plus letters at the meeting. This could take at least 4 hours. The lack of planning is shocking. As letters poured in, it should have been abundantly obvious that reading this number of letters aloud is a waste of time, will frustrate and angry many participants. Over 2 years ago, the BVT Council held a public meeting, sought letters from Lake Clear property owners, and then neglected to issue a summary conclusion or plan to move forward. We are now engaged in exactly the same process and no new facts have emerged. Lake Clear is at capacity. Development is strictly limited. RVs are a form of development, must not be allowed on lots with cottage homes and only one should be allowed on vacant lots regardless of size, following the same rules and regulations as any other structure. To date, deflection, distraction, and diversion have been the primary response from BVT Council, and this is not appropriate from those elected to represent all landowners, taxpayers, and voters of BVT. The BVT Council and staff should be the guardians of Lake Clear, not knowingly contribute to its decline. I urge you to act in an ethical, responsible, and progressive manner, mirror other proactive municipalities, and place environmental concerns at the forefront of your guiding principles. Only one has to look to neighboring municipalities like North Frontenac Township. There is no need to reinvent the wheel, just adopt systems, processes, and bylaws from those who have shown themselves to be leaders. I implore you to fulfill your obligation to protect our township's resources, including Lake Clear, the jewel of Boncher Valley. Judy Bates. To Mayor Murphy and Boncher Valley Township Council, we are writing to communicate that we are in agreement with the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 2006-28 regarding recreational vehicle allowances on property. We read the article in the Eganville Leader and felt that it addressed the issue very well. We also thank and support the council for protecting the rights of local residents and property owners. We own 80 acres at 207 Birch Road and appreciate that the council is protecting our rights to utilize this property appropriately in the future. Thank you in advance for your time, attention, and consideration to this matter. Sincerely, Jason Birch and Allison McLaughlin Birch. Hi, Annette. I hope you don't mind me forwarding you this copy of the LCPOA newsletter. I'm just hoping the info might help. I'm worried that the CPOA will not mention to the council when they present their petition that only some of the petitioners are property owners. That was submitted by Alan Denton. Mayor Murphy and Township of Boncher Valley Council. I have been a taxpayer in Boncher Valley for many years. I'm in favor of the recently proposed amendment to Boncher Valley Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw number 2006-28 brought forth by the Corporation of Township of Boncher Valley regarding the use of recreational vehicles. I would like to thank you all for your time and patience on this matter. Will Miller. Please record this as our objection to the above amendment as it applies to Lake Clear properties. It appears to us that council has consistently neglected to address the issue in a responsible and fact-based manner. Further, in the Lake Clear context, council has to date evidently ignored expert opinion regarding its illegality as outlined below. The BVT elected officials and CAO received the LCPOA legal opinion prior to the council meeting of December 16th, 2020. The opinion confirms the LCPOA position that RVs being used as cottages, replacements, or supplements are unlawful and advocates that the offending RVs must be removed and that they cannot be grandfathered. In spite of this, the BVT Council appears to have chosen to amend the bylaw to allow RVs. The only following summarizes the draft BVT proposed changes in comparison with the existing bylaws. The latest proposed amendments to the bylaws allow up to 4 RVs will be permitted on all privately owned lots on Lake Clear, and that they will not have to abide by any setbacks or zone provisions unless connected to a water supply septic system or attached to a building or structure. These proposed amendments apply to the entire township in the rural residential 4, limited service residential 1, and limited service residential 2 zones. The LCPOA never suggested that this should be addressed township-wide. With the exception of Crown Lands, Whispering Pines, and Opeongo Mountain Resort, all of the lots on Lake Clear fall into these categories. And therefore, the LCPOA conclusion is that BVT Council is proposing that up to 4 RVs will be permitted on all privately owned Lake Clear properties. There is no provision in this bylaw that recognizes the unique nature of Lake Clear being at capacity. We urge council members to respect their obligation to represent the interests of all township members, future as well as present, and reconsider the Transparency Special Interest Initiative. Regards, Evan and Joe Gamblin. Dear Mayor Murphy and councilors of Boncher Valley Township, we are sending this letter to support the proposed bylaw amendment 2006-28. We have been BVT taxpayers for many years and appreciate the chance to give input on this issue. Lake Clear has been our summer recreation spot, and we don't have an issue with the use of RVs there. The people of the township should have the right to make use of RVs on the property they pay taxes on. Thank you for the time on this matter. Caulfield Aubrey. Hi, my family has been on Lake Clear property owner for over 45 years, and I'm currently a property owner and taxpayer. I'm writing regarding the bylaw that would allow up to 4 RVs on many lots. However, you vote on this issue, please exclude Lake Clear property from this bylaw. Lake Clear is a beautiful lake and needs to be protected. Allowing up to 4 RVs on the property puts an already fragile lake at risk. As the property owner, we have had to change build plans because due to the distance from the shoreline, respecting the setback and regulations. The RVs should have to follow the same setback rules, but don't. As a cottage owner and taxpayer, this is unfair to property owners that follow the rules and pay taxes on their buildings. Thank you for your consideration, and please protect our lake and property. Ann Kelly. I know it's a bit late in the day, but I would like to register some comments on the proposed bylaw. I feel 4 RVs is too much for a typical lot and would negatively impact the enjoyment and value of adjoining properties if it were to occur. Up to 2 is plenty in my view. I also think there should be the standard setbacks from property lines and the water's edge if that's not already part of the bylaw. We shouldn't be facilitating mini trailer parks on lakefronts. Hopefully these comments can be considered by council next week. Thanks and take care, David Costello. As I will not be able to attend the public meeting tomorrow, I'd simply like to register my opposition to the amendment as proposed. It is not suitable for Lake Clear shoreline lots. Regards, Eric Wright. I'm unequivocally opposed to the proposed amendments to bylaw number 2006-28 of the Corporation of the Township of Blanchard Valley pursuant to section 34 of the Planning Act. In fact, I'm actually shocked that our BVT council members are even considering creating such an irresponsible bylaw as one which would allow 4 recreational vehicles to be placed without restrictions on each property in Blanchard Valley except in Eganville. Why was there not also been an exception for Lake Clear? BVT council is well aware that Lake Clear has for over 20 years been designated for environmental reasons an at-capacity lake. I shouldn't have to reiterate this. Council knows this. In this day and age, when the environment of our planet is a worldwide issue, I cannot comprehend a group of individuals choosing anything other than reducing the number of recreational vehicles allowed within 100 feet of Lake Clear, as well as establishing sensible controls for the use of any they might allow. To actually propose increasing the number to 4 with no restrictions is beyond belief. I believe most property owners want a reduction, just as the Ministry of Environment recommends. Has the amended number been increased to 4 as a ruse so that 3 may later be seen as a viable solution when it isn't? The environment is the key to the controversy regarding this proposed bylaw. The changes proposed in the bylaw are in direct opposition to the written recommendations made by the province and Renfrew County OP, the advice of Victor Castro, the legal opinion written by John E. Summers, a lawyer with Bell Baker LLP. Provincial documents outline certain restrictions for structures, and RVs are listed as being structures. Why has council deleted the term structure from their different definition of a recreational RV? Even our everyday household dictionary defines a recreational vehicle as a movable home. A home is further defined as a dwelling, and a dwelling is then defined as a structure. A legal site states RV means a vehicle or portable structure built on a chassis designed to be used as a temporary dwelling. Temporary is defined as either seasonal or lasting for a time only. For example, lasting for a time only could be the interim as you wait for your home under construction. However, this proposed new bylaw could allow a couple to reside with their children and grandchildren in 4 RVs without any restrictions for years and years. Why would one actually contemplate building? Just think of the taxes which could be avoided, the freedom to locate your RVs somewhere, and being able to self-regulate how waste would be disposed of. All this versus the high cost and multitude of restrictions if you were to build a new home. Yet 20 years ago, when we built our home on Lake Lee, we were required to locate it, including its deck at least 100 feet from the lake. Furthermore, the building inspector informed us we'd never be able to get a variance to do otherwise. The placement of our home and garage had to follow strict legal setbacks from property lines, and a boathouse was forbidden. To purchase our waterfront, a legal document had to be signed to verify our promise to retain a large portion of the natural habitat along the shoreline. There are no regulations such as these for RVs under this amended bylaw. Shortly thereafter, a home was built directly on Lake Clear's waterfront, ignoring all prescribed setbacks. How could this happen? Considering our experience, we wondered why BVT would make such a decision. Where is the consistency? When I was young, I was taught that should I ever disagree with someone, I should attempt to put myself in the other fellow's shoes. I'm not trying to do this in regards to BVT Council's position on RVs. To accomplish this, I'm employing a hierarchy for decision making, working my way through the use of preference to peer pressure to logic to moral principles to assess the reason for the proposed amendments to bylaw number 2006-28. So I'm asking myself, how did our BVT mayor and councillors make their decision? Did they make their choice because they just preferred it to the alternative? Sure, it's all right to make some decisions this way. If anyone prefers to eat a perfectly ripe and beautiful apple rather than a perfectly ripe and beautiful orange or any particular moment, what's the harm in choosing the apple, or for that matter, the orange? I therefore ask myself, what is it about allowing 4 recreational vehicles to be placed anywhere on any piece of property, including on the 100-foot ribbon of life, the shoreline of an at-capacity lake, without any conditions? That makes it more appealing than the alternative decision, the one which would protect the health of Lake Clear. Does council just prefer to allow 4 RVs anywhere on Lake Clear property with no restrictions rather than protect the health of the lake? Should I assume council simply makes more important decisions based on preferences and is indifferent to the more depth considerations? Surely important choices are not being made according to initial inclinations. Sometimes we make choices due to peer pressure. I must admit that sometimes it's all right to make decisions this way, but it isn't always wise. If our friends decide to see a particular movie and we'd personally prefer to see a different one, we may choose to join our friends. On the other hand, if our friends wish to do something nonsensical, illegal, or immoral, we will hopefully not only refrain from participating, but also condemn their actions. Why are our BVT mayor and councils not following the route that the provincial and county OP are recommending, the route which other Ontario municipalities have taken for lakes which are not even deemed at capacity as Lake Clear? Where is the peer pressure? Who is influencing our mayor and councillors, and what's their rationale? Hopefully council has not been influenced by any peer pressure other than that of the province, Renfrew County OP, and other townships who value their lakes. Sometimes we make a choice because it's a logical one. For a complicated decision, we must be logical. Where's the logic behind a decision that denies the fact that 4 recreational vehicles placed anywhere on a piece of property with no restrictions will eventually damage a lake, whether it's sensitive or not? Surely to this day and age, everyone is aware of the global concerns of lakes and rivers. The council has been provided with Victor Castro's scientific expertise and a legal opinion regarding RVs at Lake Clear. Where's the logic behind ignoring these experts? Sometimes we have to reach even higher to moral and ethical principles when making a decision. What moral questions come to mind? I can think of 2 possibilities. Which of the 2 moral principles below appears to be more important to our BVT mayor and councillors? The health of Lake Clear. Are we the custodians for future life on Earth, or do we only care about what happens right now? What is our obligation to the health of Lake Clear and to those who presently own property on this body of water and those who will in the future? Property rights. Mr. Dempsey, a Lake Clear property owner, suggested in his letter to the leader that RV usage is a property right and therefore shouldn't be restricted by bylaws. He seems to be suggesting that we should allow to do anything we wish on our own property. I know my answer. I believe I know the answer for most Lake Clear property owners, as well as most of society. The health of Lake Clear is far more important than property rights. For this reason, I had no argument with the building restrictions when our home was built. Similarly, for the health of others, not only for myself, I wear a mask for COVID pandemic. I don't feel the COVID rules negate my freedom any more than the laws that require my keeping to the speed limit when driving a car. I respect the safety of others as well as myself. We are not our brothers. Are we not our brother's keeper? Are we not the keepers of the environment, which includes the health of our lakes? What is council's rationale behind this proposed bylaw? Try as I might, I'm unable to understand the decision-making process of the BVT mayor and councillors. So I ask our municipal leaders directly, what is your justification for proposing this new bylaw? Joanne Monahan. I agree with this proposal. Ashley Felder. I am both a homeowner and separate cottage owner on Lake Clear in the municipality of Boncher Valley. I would like to make it clear that I object to the proposed amendment to bylaw 2006-28 regarding the placement of up to a possible 4 RVs on Lake Clear properties or any of the lakes within this township without the necessary bylaws in place to protect the environment impact to the lakes. The Boncher Valley official plan and all provincial studies recognize the need for strict regulations when it comes to development on Lake Clear. They were put in place years ago to protect the environmental sensitivity and vulnerability of this beautiful spring-fed lake. Years ago, before amalgamation, Sebastopol Township fought side by side with Lake Clear property owners when it came to the proposed development of Turner's Island. During this time, my mother was president of the Lake Clear Properties Association and was passionate that the lake be protected from any further environmental hazards that could affect the lake. The main concern of the LCPOA was the environmental impact the proposed large development of Turner's Island would have on the lake. It got to the point that both the township and LCPOA could no longer fight the owner of Turner's Island, and it ended up going before the OMB. The decision by the OMB was that the landowner was only able to build 1 cottage for himself and 2 smaller outbuildings in a specified area on the island. Lake Clear being a sensitive lake, there were many strict stipulations in place, including that the structures and septic system would have to be approved and installed according to township bylaws and the Renfrew County Health Unit. I am not opposed to have a permanent and semi-permanent RVs on the lake, but they must abide by all the same bylaws that homes and cottages have to follow. This being said, they should have a proper septic system installed, and it should be inspected and certified by the Renfrew County Health Unit. The RVs must have the same setback of 100 feet from the high water mark, just like any new structures have to have. As our mayor once said at the LCPOA general meeting, Lake Clear has the highest taxes of all the lakes in this township, therefore should the permanent RVs be taxed. The primary role of our elected officials is to represent all their constituents, so I'm hoping they'll make the right decision and think of the environmental implications and therefore not pass this amendment without the proper bylaws in place. David Bourne. We would like to state that we do not have any concerns with the proposed changes to the bylaw 2006-28, but what if you have 1,000 feet of water frontage and would like to put a trailer on the 66-foot allowance? What about the older cottages that have been taken down for years already and are being replaced to this day, either into a new cottage or home, including their septic systems? And how many boat houses around this lake actually have boats in them? So many are being just used as bunkies. Sincerely, Danny and Tammy Felber.
Annette?
Yeah.
Thank you for your speed reading. How many more do you have?
We have 6. I got 6. How many you got?
I got 11.
So we got 17
26.
and 26.
Okay, I'm being reminded by council that we have now really exhausted our time. Unfortunately, and I hate to do this because I know we're on a roll. I think we definitely have a flavor of what's going on I know council definitely wants to hear the remainder of these letters. Could we find a date? Dana, you have to give 30 days or 36 days notice.
I think 20 days.
20 days.
20 days.
Oh, I see. It's after the fact that you have, right, for the appeals. So perhaps we could find a date sooner rather than later and continue while we still have the momentum, and give council an opportunity to debate and discuss.
Jen,
Yes.
Jen, there was one question that I see in the comments that I think we should address, and it's who put forth the proposed bylaw at council. So staff did that just as a starting point for council consideration.
Yeah, and thank you for questions, but I don't think that we should be answering questions when not everybody is allowed to ask their questions. So yes, staff brought forward this bylaw for our consideration, and we knew that we wanted to go through this process. And I truly thank everybody that joined us today, and we will absolutely ensure that everybody knows when the next meeting is. And again, thank you to all. Council, you have to leave this meeting. I'll give you all 3 minutes for a bio break and to grab some water, and you can log into our council meeting. It's the next meeting in the email that Annette sent. So again, everybody, thank you. We appreciate it. And thanks for sticking with us for 3 hours. I see we lost some people, but a lot of people stayed with us. So
Yeah.
have a great evening, everybody, and we will see you soon.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add though is if you want to know, we'll put out notice for the next meeting, but if you specifically want to know, yeah, it'll be after 20 days from now, but you can call Dana or myself or whoever, or council members, and we'll get you the
But
date.
yeah, but again, if anybody has anything that hasn't already been said, please feel free. But if it's already been said, and I think that a few have been said ad nauseum, we'll, for the sake of our readers, I see somebody just chimed in, thanks to the readers. So yeah, this was a yeoman task and I appreciate it. All right, guys, take care.